Welcome to Lorehammer, episode 33, Ordo Xenos and the Deathwatch.
Hello and welcome back to Warhammer. My name is Eric.
How do you work one of these things?
It's a laptop, Mark. It's not rocket science.
Well, I know it's computer science.
That's Mark, everyone.
How do you scroll?
You'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Okay.
We've got Jordan with us,
How's it going?
as always. Our silent watcher.
The lurker.
Keeper of secrets.
I'm a night watchman.
Oh,
Okay.
what does that job entail? Are you watching us at night, Jordan? That's what I'm getting.
Someone has to make sure you're safe and
Only
away from
in your
technologies. And joining us again is Colin.
Hello.
How are
Hey
you
there.
doing?
I'm good. It's been, 5 episodes, I think?
I have no idea. I wasn't even here last time you
No,
were
you
on.
weren't. It
so
was
this
James
will
and I.
be this will be a brand new dynamic for me. Please,
How many fits, temper tantrums are you going to throw to adjust to this new?
I'm gonna do 3 before our 40th minute. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Start the clock.
exactly. No, I'm watching the timer. Don't worry. But today we are talking about the Inquisition again. Always, Mark, spill us your deepest and darkest secrets, or else we will find them out with many proddings of firebrands. Look, either you can.
When I was really young.
Either you confess now, or we'll get a confession. What happened when you were young?
Oh, I don't know.
Where
I
did-
do have something to share that was deeply traumatizing.
You know what?
Where did they
I
hurt
don't want to
you?
know. I
No,
just don't want to
no.
know.
Jordan, you will know.
Okay.
So here's my traumatizing situation that happened to me today. Today.
It affected him deeply.
Deeply, like honestly, super
Physically?
deep. It came to my mind because they're talking about my deep dark secrets, and I am married. No one's met my wife. No one knows her. People always joke she doesn't
Allegedly
exist.
married.
Yeah.
You're allegedly.
Yeah.
I fled to Cuba to get married.
Right.
Are all those picture frames the same person from the Value Village?
Like a stock photo with you put in there, Mark.
So on the weekend, I was doing some electrical work. I got poked in the eye by like an electrical wire. So I was kind of squinting. I was wearing an eye patch for fun, being a pirate and whatnot, trying to get sympathy from the wife. Like, I can't move. Get me food. And she was not having none of it, even though my eye was pretty fucked up actually. But so I get home today, and my one cat, he's squinting his eye, and his eye's all red. Like something happened, we don't know. But the amount of concern she had for the cat was hurtful, because I'm like, Cassie, like
Buddy or Leo?
Leo, or yeah, buddy, Leo, the white one, Leo, the potato,
The demon
king.
cat.
The potato king.
Huh.
But yeah, she was like, "Oh, were you okay?" Petting him, comforting him. I'm like, Cassie, like this week, I really hurt my eye,
And you didn't pet me, Cassie.
you had no concern. She's
You
like,
don't
"Well,"
give a rip.
so
I am concerned that it got the same injury, though, because it's kind of like a familiar,
No,
you injure
totally.
one thing. So if we
How-
torture the cat, do you feel pain?
Exactly.
It's possible.
The cat accepted the injury, so Mark would be free of the burden.
it's entirely
Oh.
possible. So yeah,
I think your cat is just an empath.
Yeah.
yeah, like so. All I know is my deep dark secret is yes, I have a wife, and
but
yes,
no, she does not care about me.
she cares more about the cat than me. There you go, Inquisitor
that,
Eric.
That cat doesn't even care about her.
No.
She only married you for your money, Mark.
Oh yeah.
For your
Big
Warhammer money?
Big.
Well, it's all
mistake.
blown on Warhammer, so I'm sorry.
You show one bank statement, you get married, and then it's like, oh, sorry.
Oh, you thought that was disposable?
Oh, no.
income.
That was
no.
specifically Warhammer budget. Yes.
All right, now that we're all frisky, I've told you my story of the day.
It's a good one.
Do you have one?
A deep
Eric?
dark
A
secret?
deep dark secret?
I have many deep secrets. Most of them dark. Some of them on like a neutral color palette. So
Getting very racist vibes from your deep dark secret.
it's not
Eric?
it's not about the color of your skin.
That's well.
It's
I'm
about
not
the color.
comfortable
It's
right
about the
now.
color you say your skin is.
So,
So you're saying that you wouldn't date a white person who thinks she's black or he? I don't know what you're into, but
Hey, I identify
I'm a
as a ginger, okay?
I'm a fan of WYSIWYG.
What you see is what you
What
get.
you see is what you get.
And it's back on Warhammer. Here we go. We're in it.
That's the worst word ever.
WYSIWYG.
WYSIWYG. It's a real thing. It's
Around
a
the
real-
tournament scene for sure. So
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, Warhammer, I guess, and the Inquisition.
yes, episode 33.
The Ordo Xenos and its branch, the Deathwatch.
I see, Colin, that you have hijacked our notes.
No,
and-
Honestly,
not a hijack.
we wrote notes, and then Colin was like, hey guys, I added some notes, and I went and read it, and I was like, huh, that's as many as we put in.
They're color coded. They're properly
Yeah.
punctuated. It's legible.
Right, obviously.
All things our notes are not.
All right.
Take it away, Colin.
Okay, so here's the deal. This is episode 33. But did you guys know that episode 33 has significance for aliens and occultists? Kind of important when we're talking about the Inquisition and Ordo Xenos, right?
All right.
Okay, so in the spiritual numerology, 33 symbolizes the highest spiritual consciousness that you can get as human being. That actually is also the age a certain carpenter from Nazareth, when he died, kind of spooky, right? You start to get into the occult. You're thinking,
All right, now I'm nervous.
Okay, well, you don't have to be. It's okay, because there's some other correlations here. Harry Truman, who was a Scottish Rite Freemason, 33rd degree, he became the 33rd president of the United States. And at the end of the hostilities with Germany in 1945, Operation Paperclip, they brought the Nazi scientists over. They put them in White Sands V2 launch site, also known Complex 33. And go visit, by the way. It's a historical landmark. So here we go. Rockets.
Okay.
What are rockets? Rockets are also propulsion for aliens. Still with me? Here we go. Roswell, New Mexico. Most significant alien sighting on Earth. Where did it happen? You guessed it. 33rd parallel. That's right. You know what else happened at the 33rd parallel? Disneyland, where Xenos tech may or may not be used to keep Walt Disney's head frozen in a jar near Disney's mysterious VIP bar called Club 33, located at 33 Royal Street in New Orleans Square, where it's the only place you can order a stiff drink in the park, and was named after the 33 corporate sponsors in Disneyland whose founders and CEOs were immigrants to America. And disparagingly called, you guessed it, aliens. So aliens are awesome. This episode is awesome. And you listeners, you are in for an awesome time as we talk about the Inquisition, awesome aliens, and welcome to the next hour and a bit. Let's do this.
Couple quick questions there. First one. Not familiar. How high is 33 exactly?
When it comes to the 33 degree of being a Freemason, that's
No,
what I
no, no.
wanna know.
Just as a number. Like, how high
It's
is
higher
it?
than 30 and less than 40. Let's move on.
Well, 33
Like,
is
how many above 10?
At least
which is-
10.
23 above.
It's at least 10 above 10.
That's
Well,
a
it's
lot
also
of-
one of
that's
the
a
holy
lot of
numbers
fingers.
because 33, 11, and 22 are all symbolic in numerology. And why is there this? Who are these guys from the Inquisition here for me, guys?
So, did you want to know an interesting fact about our podcast, Colin?
Tell me more.
This is technically our 38th episode.
Okay, so do you want to know about 38?
He came prepared. All of a sudden on our notes page, it's like, bloop.
Yeah, it just shows up. So, did you have this knowledge in your head? What the hell, man?
Isn't it just common knowledge? I
Why?
guess? Common made up
Why?
knowledge?
Like, do you have like 42 prepared as well?
I actually have a piece of my brain was cogitator, adeptus mechanicus. I actually have a piece of my brain right now subpartitioned
Yes.
to, be calculating some additional facts. So I would love to learn some facts from you guys, though, about the Inquisition.
Honestly, though, I'm serious. So this was all just knowledge in your brain. Like,
Yes.
you didn't have to search any of this.
I'm an idiot savant.
Did you like my horseshoe savant idiot graph? If you got a horseshoe, idiots are at one end of the horseshoe, savants are at the other one, average people at the top in the middle. So idiots and savants are closer to each other than they are to average people.
For the listener who can't understand what's happening with his hand gestures, he's just making a horseshoe shape over and over, and the three other of us around the table are just giving
idiots
him
and
looks.
savants are right here. They're right next to each other. We're average people up here, and they have nothing. An idiot and a savant have more in common with each other than the average person.
no, like an idiot savant and a savant are two different things.
No, I know. An idiot savant is like an idiot who is like really. An idiot savant is an idiot who's really good in one
Yeah,
thing.
you sacrifice
Yeah.
some sort of like social aspect of yourself in order to.
Now we know everything
Yeah.
there is to know about everything.
That blows my mind. I honestly thought you did research on that. You were like, 33. What could I find? But that's phenomenal. Thank you. First of all.
Don't encourage him.
Aliens, Roswell, 33. Let's do this.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
But yes, we are talking about aliens today. This episode is all about the Inquisition and how humanity deals with aliens. Unfortunately, the humanity does not view aliens as awesome as you seem to, Colin, which is unfortunate.
It is.
For aliens, but good for humanity.
Well, the only good alien is a dead alien.
Of course.
Oh,
Or,
not a hot alien, not a hot Tau alien.
No, Mark, that's not. Get out of that R34. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Before we really dive into our episode, though, we do want to say thank you to our newest Patreon subscriber, Graham. Thank you so much for your contribution. What you do allows us to do what we do, which is make shitty podcasts. And
The shittiest.
of course, it's not good. Never
But in
once
a sense, we are the best at being the
at
shittiest.
being the worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
If you're gonna be the best at something, like if you're gonna do something, might as well be the best at it. Whether you're the best or the best worst. Being the best middle is nothing.
Can you be the worst best?
Jordan asks, "Can you be the worst best?" No, you cannot. That doesn't make any sense. The worst best is just probably the middle.
Yeah.
Because you're the worst at being the best. Like you can't be the best worst, or you can't be the
You're like
best
the
best.
worst or the best. You're the worst of the top tier.
Right, and so nobody's gonna remember you.
bronze.
Yeah.
That's a bronze medal right there.
Yeah.
Oof.
The worst best.
Oof. And fourth, bronze and fourth. Nobody even remembers who came in bronze or fourth.
We did it. Unraveling the mysteries of the universe. We got
are.
33 down. We got idiot savants down. We
Yeah.
got. I zoned out when you guys were talking about the next one, but we got that down.
You know, the number 4 has a lot of significance in Chinese mythology.
that can't even be a real number. Now you're just making up numbers, Colin.
All right, let's move
Who
on.
has that many fingers? Honestly,
Aliens?
probably.
Tau.
Tau have 4 fingers, right?
All right, I got a little retcon here.
Oh,
So on Reddit, every now and again, I peruse, and people are like, "Oh, what's a good lore hammer or a lore podcast?" So give them my spiel or whatever. And the one guy messaged us, and he's like, "You mean lore thinks Cormorgrat is a craft world hammer?" As in like lore quotations.
Sure.
Inserts a deflammatory comment hammer.
Or did someone hurt your feelings?
No. I'm just.
Mark, come here.
Oh God.
Poor little
Oh my God.
Oh, do we have a hater?
No, I don't think he was.
Oh,
a
you just
hater.
called us out on something we did wrong.
Well, yeah, and I think like when I was talking to him, it was just like, oh yeah, like we probably just like offhandedly mentioned that there was like craft worlds that have become a part of Cormorgrat, but like it's a city unto itself. It's this whole realm. It's a whole weird thing, and I think the other thing we mentioned was that the Eldar have like translucent skin. The Dark Eldar do, but that was just like back in the day. But like current 40K, they don't have like translucent skin. It was just like at one point in time. The other thing he mentioned was
Don't they have dark skin?
well,
Isn't the
I think
whole-
that actually comes from the early influences of the old novel, The Time Machine, right? Like all those races that live deep underground or in dark spaces, they gain very pale or even translucent skin because
Yeah.
they don't have any pigmentation. But again, we know that that's not current in 20. Well,
Yeah, and I never went back and listened to the
Come on,
episode.
it's 2018.
I
I
was
never
gonna
went
date the
back and
episode,
listened to
but-
the episode to remember exactly what we said, but I'm sure we were just like rambling and saying like cool things that about them and not. I don't know. All I'm saying is is maybe go back and if you listen to it, just remember that we don't think that Cormorgrat is a craft world. The other thing was, I guess we said was that the pleasure cults in Cormorgrat are still around, but they stopped. Like they're not a thing anymore. So that's really all.
They're not.
No,
Shoot.
but
canceling my trip to Comora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all. Like, if we do say things that is not
Oh, good lord!
entirely,
You better believe we don't know what we're talking about.
well, that's the thing. Like, the episode wasn't on Cormorgrat, so like we did a brief little glance, like enough to have a quick little note about
Yeah.
it, and that was all.
Well,
but
to
like,
the fans of the Drukhari and the Dark Eldar, whatever you want to call them, I'm sure you guys will be looking forward to an episode.
Oh, yeah.
all about the Dark City.
yeah,
of
exactly.
course.
Yeah, like
Of course.
it's big enough to have an episode all to itself, which we will do proper research. But yeah,
Or
so
not.
or not, whatever. But
Who knows?
if we do say things, let us know when we're at it. We'll include it into our episode and make sure that we're 100% without flaw. like my mother intended.
Okay. First of all, that's not even remotely close to true.
Okay, there we go. Let's start the episode.
Well, let's start. Let's jump right into the Ordo Xenos.
Part 3 of our Inquisition episode.
Yes, Ordo Xenos, the second of the Ordo Majoris that we will be touching on. The purpose of the Ordo Xenos is to protect the Imperium and her citizens from the threat without, being any Xenos or alien species or technology or ideas that might try and infest your mind with their hideous...
Picking up some tones again from you.
I just don't want to learn other cultures.
Picking up some very hard tones.
They're stealing our jobs.
So how does the Inquisition and the Ordo Xenos protect us?
Well, they are dedicated to countering, containing, spying, exterminating, destroying, wrecking, and butt-fucking alien I didn't write that, did I? Did I write that?
No, I did. Okay. And I was curious if you would read it.
Okay. Alien species of the galaxy. They are responsible for our protection. They keep Xenos away from us. They find humans that are consorting with aliens and quickly put an end to their heresies.
You know what else they do, though?
What else do they do?
They also make trades with the Xenos. And they sometimes even work beside the
Probably
Xenos.
none sanctioned.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's just like a radical...
Yeah.
Depends on the Inquisitor.
Yeah, like
You'll see it more with
pure-
rogue traders, of course.
Yeah.
The official stand of the Imperium is that every single Xenos is Xenos horrificus.
Yes.
And there is no Xenos that deserves to live with us.
There are some who are tolerated, like the Jokero.
But again, still technically...
Yes. Where it's advantageous for the Inquisition. But I think there's a good reason to consider them horrificus. You know, you've got gene stealers, which they arrive on a planet. That is terrifying.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
idea that they will circumvent, find their way into the bowels of the city and start to multiply and take over our genetic material. It's horrifying.
They're going to put a little ovipositor in you, lay an egg.
And you don't
we
even
know how
realize
women
it's
feel.
happening.
Now we know how women feel. Now,
That's not...
now we know.
That's not how any
how
of your
women
relationships
feel.
should happen.
I deposit my egg.
Oh, what a twist.
What a tweet.
So where did the Ordo Xenos come from?
Oh, well, it actually came about in the War of the Beast, which was M32. It was the largest WOG to ever exist. It's so large, even, that it got right to the doorstep of Terra itself. There was even an orc attack moon within Terra's... what do you call it?
Orbit?
Yep, that's the word I'm looking for.
Like the gum?
Yep, that's the one. They've got an orc attack moon in Holy Terra's gums. No, so like that's crazy close.
Yeah.
Something I would like to point out to our friend from the Adeptus Mechanicus is that the Adeptus Mechanicus refused to help in that moment.
You've got it. You've got this. Terra, come on.
Boo. Refused to help. So, first of all, wow, rude.
What? Now we know why their loyalties lie.
Yeah, exactly. Not with the Emperor. Not with the Omnissiah, clearly.
Oh, with the Omnissiah.
But this, it was founded during the War of the Beasts, and the way the War of the Beasts ended is just all the Primorcs are, eventually disappeared, were killed off probably.
Yeah,
And
they were most likely killed. I don't
Yeah.
think they got a couple confirmed kills, but they think they killed them
the
all.
WOG just lost steam. It's one of those things where it just has to keep building upon itself or else it'll die, which is what happened to this one. And that's how it ended. There's actually a lot that has to do with two Inquisitors. One is Veritas and one is Wynand. And they were very instrumental in the creation of the Ordo Xenos. So Veritas is actually... the de facto leader of the Inquisition at this point.
Yeah.
But more of like a secretive leader. No one really knows.
Well, all the Inquisition is secretive.
Right, exactly. So Wynand was an Inquisitorial representative. So
He's on the seat of the High Lords of
I
Terra.
always thought it was a girl for some reason. It doesn't matter. This
Wynand might be a girl.
Yeah. I don't know. I seem to remember seeing she. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure she's sitting. So she is an Inquisitorial representative. She's on the High Lords of Terra, and she believed that this was it. The war's over. It's all done. And Inquisitor Veritas actually goes to Wynand and tries to remove Wynand from her post, and even attempts to kill her.
I think you're confusing Inquisitors.
I am not.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So Veritas actually tries to do it the correct way. He tries to do it through the regular, put them on trial and kill Wynand. Doesn't work. Not enough people believe her. So then he tries to assassinate her. That still doesn't take at all. And then later they come to an agreement where Wynand sees the light for the...
You're lucky I don't have internet access. I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
What do you think I'm talking about?
There's another Inquisitor and there's a couple rogue High Lords of Terror that happens to, that they try to assassinate.
Thematically speaking, though, like if we're looking to Eric's example, Veritas, Inquisitor Veritas is the Latin root for truth.
Truth.
So it would make sense to say, I'm going to bring the truth. I am going to out. I am going to...
Do you know anything about Inquisitor Veritas?
Well, I was hoping that you guys would be able to fill that out.
Absolutely. Something very interesting about Veritas is that's actually Cinderman.
Bum, bum, bum.
One of the first 4 humans that founded the Inquisition.
Over 2,000 years before that.
Jordan is very impressed by this fact.
He is old as
You too,
dust.
Jordan, can live that long. All you gotta do, eat your vegetables, push-ups and sit-ups, and love your mama.
Having a good regimen is important to immortality.
Absolutely. Also important is the technology that allows you to keep your body from becoming dust. So
From entropy.
He is over 2,000 years old at that point. He is one of the original Inquisitors who created the Inquisition, and he's been working with the Grey Knights at this point. Even Wynand actually didn't even know about the Grey Knights until Veritas and Wynand got together and chatted about it, and then he told her all of that. Even though she was like the head of what do you call a figurehead? She was the figurehead of the Inquisition. She didn't even know everything about the Inquisition. So, I mean, secrets on secrets with these guys, really. So in the end, Veritas and Wynand come to an agreement where Veritas becomes the actual leader of the Ordo Malleus, and Wynand becomes the leader of the Ordo Xenos at the end. That's the end of what happens. Did you find it?
No, I was gonna just jump in.
Oh. And Mark was trying to prove me wrong, but he
No,
couldn't.
I will.
So
I will prove you wrong.
That's all I'm trying to get at. Is
What?
He couldn't prove me wrong.
Okay. Logically, let's just. Why would Veritas go through all this trouble to try to assassinate this person, only to be like, okay, you're fine,
because it didn't work. Sorry, are you trying to apply logic to Games Workshop stories?
No, it's very logical and well thought through.
All of it.
All of it.
Oh,
All.
I think you need to go take another
Wolves
look.
on wolves.
I think you need to take another.
All of it.
But Mark, there are no wolves on Fenris.
But yeah, so they end up founding the Ordo Xenos
Together.
regardless of how it happened.
We literally worked together. 2 days ago when you wrote these notes out? Mm-hmm.
2 days is a long time for your memory to falter.
For me.
For you.
Oh, please.
Your memory.
All right. But anyways, that is the creation of the splitting of Ordo Malleus and Ordo Xenos. So now you have the 2 separate things. We already talked about Ordo Malleus, so today let's talk about the Ordo Xenos. Mm-hmm. Now, we want to follow the same format as we did with the Malleus, but the truth is it's actually not nearly as much about the Ordo Xenos as there is the Ordo Malleus. There's a lot about the Deathwatch, obviously a lot about Grey Knights and everything, but the Inquisition Ordos themselves...
You may see that reflected on the tabletop with how many units they have just dedicated to the Inquisition.
Exactly. Like it's a little everything is like hodgepodge with them. There's no real standard that I was able to find.
Yeah, like they function in like the standard Inquisitorial cells that we talked about.
So you're an Inquisitor and you pretty much do whatever the heck you want and you just get whatever you want.
Well, yeah, and you will form cells with other Inquisitors that have similar goals to yours, but you're not really you don't have a boss, you're more working side by side, and your past might lead you somewhere else completely. But yeah, that's kind of how they function. Where when we were talking about the Malleus, they had 169 representatives or something like that.
Well, the Secret Masters. Yeah, but they also had special people who were in charge of sectors and subsectors, and so it was actually much more well thought out in the Malleus as opposed to the Xenos.
Yeah,
which I can see it. The Xenos, doesn't really matter. Anyways, they are primarily autonomous and they are independent with their own retinue. Now, Colin, this is your notes, so I'd like you to.
So when a Inquisitor encounters a alien, unless there is some sort of way to say, hey, look, we need to work together by circumstance, because there are moments when the Imperium is like, look, we've got another alien threat. Maybe we'll work alongside, or maybe we'll actually just ignore each other, or play ignorant long enough to finish this other race off, and then we'll get to you, fair alien.
Right, like we're going to deal with you in due time.
Yes. But ways of interacting with Xenos typically follows 9 actions of interrogation when you've encountered one. Now, obviously the actions of interrogation come after full-blown annihilation, right? Like if you're not going to be annihilating them, you've captured them or you've surrounded them, the Inquisition will still take the time to say, okay, what do you know? Because there is still something that can be gleaned, something important that humanity can still gain. That's dependent on the Inquisitor. Some will say, I don't need your lies, alien, and annihilate them. But some will say, well, maybe there's something I can glean. So some of the actions include, step 1, you're an Inquisitor, you found an alien, they've been captured, they're sitting in a cell.
What do you do?
What do you do? Imagine the setting is just like V for Vendetta. They're in a cage. You walk in, you're wearing black gloves, your trench coat, scary Inquisitor. Step 1, verbal interrogation.
So you just yell at him.
It can be more subtle than that. It can be, so tell me, alien, what do you know? To which you realize you don't speak the alien's language.
Right, of course.
Yeah, which is great to then escalate to step 2, threatening further actions. Now listen, alien, I am not going to take that language, whatever language it is. Do you understand me? It's still not working. I got to go to step 3, light torture.
Just nipple twists, right? That's just light torture.
Just bending
or like name 10 chocolate bars. Nothing crazy.
It's titillation. So it's like, it's sensation, which could bring you to like some form of pleasure, but really it's just agonizing.
Yeah, and it's light. It's like, it might be bending your finger. It might be like, grabbing you by the chin, like you see on all those police dramas now, that seems to be the way to torture someone.
A thing?
That's a thing. So
whose chin is that big?
Wait, what?
Trust me.
I don't watch crime dramas for that reason.
Those damn chin grabbers.
All right, so here I am, Inquisitor. I'm holding this alien by one of its many chins.
Of course.
And I am threatening more physical torture. Okay. And I'm also beginning physiological manipulation. Alien, multi-chin alien, your friends are never going to come for you. We have you.
This is true. I ate all my friends.
It is the way of our people.
Yes.
What a twist. Or you might hear them in the other room screaming as other Inquisitors have moved up their actions, or other members of the retinue.
So these, correct me if I'm wrong, but these initial steps that humanity starts to have with these people is nothing more than waterboarding?
It is effectively that, but it gets worse, Eric.
Okay,
it definitely gets worse because the next step is bring out the psyker.
Oh.
A psyker will delve into the thoughts of the subject, pull out memories. At this point, they may actually start to actually manipulate the memories or maybe remove them entirely. Imagine something like if you're picture your happiest moment as an alien. Maybe it's grazing across this great open purple field, and then all of a sudden the field is just gone. And you're just in blackness. They are manipulating your mind and your memories to play on the things that are most satisfying to you. And that's painful. What they'll then do, the next step, is sensory deprivation. Look, we've tried manipulating your mind a little bit. We've tried torturing you. We're just going to stick you in a hole for a long time and make you contemplate when this torture is actually going to end.
I like to think that there are many aliens who have just been forgotten.
I think that's very likely. Very likely. Because the Administratum, the Inquisitor comes out and says, we'll come for him in 3 or 4 days. He goes off to another mission. They forget about him for 3 or 4 centuries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. After that, the next step, more intensive psychic probing. And this is very painful and often fatal. This is
how you make new friends as an Inquisitor.
Yes, because other Inquisitors are watching the steps that you're going to, and they're like, "You are a badass."
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to flex a little e-peen on those losers that you were in the academy with.
That's right.
Right?
What is EP?
You never flex a little e-peen?
No, can't say I have.
Moving on out of gamer culture, we're going to keep going. The next step I actually thought was interesting would come after intensive psychic probing. It's actually chemical assistance and verbal psychic probing. So you will have that example of maybe you are projecting
a lot of probing.
hallucinations
Lots of
into the
probing.
mind of the subject, both psychically, but also you're giving them hallucinogens. To the alien, maybe the Inquisitor's face is actually melting off, and now there is Ghost Rider talking to them.
Scarecrow.
Yes, yep, a perfect example. Everything
Wow.
is shaking, and then after
See
that,
bats everywhere.
it is weeks long death. The interrogation is over. The Inquisitor now is just here to torture and make the multi-chinned alien who
can't speak common.
any of the language,
Yeah.
making their life an absolute hell. Imagine this, that you have gone through all of these steps, you're unable to communicate, or maybe you can, the Inquisitor just doesn't believe you or
Or he
doesn't
doesn't
care.
Yeah.
This is kind of what, for us as humans, in our human history, we actually see. This is people being cruel for the sake of being cruel. But it's also based on the mentality of, well, am I going to torture this alien because it makes me feel better? Is it because I feel that I, as a human, have a manifest destiny to rule the stars and that no alien shall come between me and that? Or are you just a sick human being?
I think it's a little bit of all of it. Honestly, like, as an Inquisitor, you got to make those tough calls.
Is that a tough call though?
It's probably both, and
No,
it's a question of the chicken and the egg. What
No,
came first?
the tough call is how many planets do I have to exterminatus in order to stop the Tyranids from advancing?
Yes.
The consequence of that is you gotta let a little stress out. So you gotta torture an alien or two. It's not a big deal. I mean, you just sacrificed billions of your own people. What's one Xenos, right? That's the logic.
Gonna have a bad time.
You're gonna look. If you're a Xenos, just avoid the Inquisition. You're pretty much just asking for it at that point. Right? If you're in the area of an Inquisitor, that's your fault.
So for those of you that have Inquisitors on your tabletop and you're marching across, do know that the fate for the aliens may not actually be a swift death.
No.
You may actually want to capture them. You may want to, pull them in to say, what knowledge am I going to actually extract from you before I make you suffer a slow and agonizing death?
Bonus points if you can do that to him in real life while you're playing.
Well, that just makes for great friendship.
Strap them up, slowly start the nipple twisting.
verbally berate them.
Your mother hates you.
You're reaching across the table. You're
No.
actually breaking the arms off of the other player's model.
Yeah, the
What are you
psychological
doing?
approach. You just start
Psychological.
staring at them.
Oops.
Just start dropping their models.
That was my golden demon winning.
Okay, I have a question though, because this is the first I've heard of these 9 actions of interrogation.
yes.
Is this used on humans as well?
Well, it actually is also used in for the Order Hereticus and for people who have been suspected of being possessed by demons. This is kind of the welcome to the Inquisition. Here's your handbook of
Here's what you can expect in the first 4 days.
9 easy steps to interrogation.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I can't really see Malleus using it as much. But yeah, Hereticus, that's perfect.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for than this very clear laid out system?
Yep. Structure.
Structure.
So, but then again, sometimes because of some circumstance, you may have to work alongside aliens. Begrudging human players, we know it's disgusting for those Xenos. Or maybe it's because you're at the tabletop and you're in a 2v2 and you're like, I gotta partner with these bloody.
And you have to make up some silly storyline.
Yep. But hey, here are some races that you actually could work with and
Yes.
have a lore-based reason for it.
Of course, because these Inquisitors do use an Inquisitorial retinue, and they commonly will take Xenos that they view are valuable.
Yeah,
or
like
an asset.
maybe one of the aliens actually speaks their own language and speaks Gothic, so there you have some way to communicate. Or they know the system really well, or whatever reason you can come up
Or
with.
they're a traitor to their own race,
They could even
and
be
they're
that.
trying to help you get in.
Yep.
Yeah. You never know. Every alien is
Can
gonna
never
have
trust
a
the
different,
Xenos and his intentions.
because every Xenos is going to have their own motivation, and every Inquisitor is
But
gonna
they're all
have their
bad.
own- well, of course, yes.
So
you can never trust them.
He
Yeah.
just said that with like demonstrable contempt in his eyes. So what are some of the Xenos allies?
Well, there's Mark's favorite.
the Kroot.
No, not that one. Get your jizz hands out of here. No, the Jopkaro. Jopkaro.
The Jerocaros.
The Jokero.
The Jokero.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, and they use them because of all those tiny little digital weapons that they can make.
Miniaturized
Yeah,
weapons.
yeah, and they find them useful. Next, they also will have been known to like ally with Corsair Eldar, or even regular Eldar, or heck, even Dark Eldar. Like, you will find any Xenos race, really. We can name them all. You can find an orc.
Not every
Tyrannid.
Xenos. Tyrannid, Necron.
No, Necron will.
Well, that's true, actually.
Yeah,
You know.
screw that, but Necron will.
Like, literally anyone.
I don't think a Tyrannid.
Okay, so Tyranids, I don't really classify them as a race. I classify them more as like wildlife. Like you don't say I'm allied with this cow when you milk it.
Well, they're a force of nature. You can concede that, but they are a race. They are a unique species, extragalactic.
Sure. But it to me, I put them on the field of like wildlife, like.
Because they
They're
don't.
not.
They
they're-
can't
It was a
take
David
their-
Attenborough. Behold the majestic,
Yeah, and then-
Hormagaunt. It's just like ripping a farmer up. The poor farmer
Yeah.
who works on the night world.
No,
but-
like I get what you're saying because they don't have like any kind of individuality.
They don't have a
no.
culture.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, but
I don't know. I've
anything
never
that
been on one of their bio ships. Maybe they
Might be
have-
fun.
Maybe they have some form of music.
You're getting like absorbed into the wall. This is great.
But yeah, you could come up with 1,000 different Xenos and why they would ally. Like, let's just ramble off a couple of these. We don't need to spend a lot of time on them, though.
One interesting one that you may find actually was back. So if you use the Wayback Machine or any sort of time machine for the internet to go back and look at websites from decades past, it's crazy to think, how old the internet is now in the grand scope of how far you can look back.
Old.
But back in
Yet I
2000,
still don't have internet access on my computer.
that's your problem.
Interesting.
Back in 2008, GW's website had a nondescript alien called Krashak the Stalker, and he was from a race known as the Viscans. They were ectothermic in nature, and they absorb heat and energy from their environment. Eldred from the Eldari turned the orcs on some Tyranids who came to blows. Well, the Tyranids kind of rolled off the orcs and they ran into the Viscans who ate them. The Tyranids ate the Viscans for biomass, and now this Krashak the Stalker became an alien bounty hunter without a race, and he went off and joined, I believe it was some rogue traders, and that's how they tried to populate a little bit of these races that they are nomadic. You will see different races that will work with rogue traders because of all of the civilizations and all the cultures in the cosmos. Many have actually lost their homeworlds to the major warring factions that we play.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's how they kind of fall into the side of humanity where Inquisitors are saying, well, this alien has no race. It is no great threat. I might as well use this one because there's no chance of it, existing beyond this last
The race
member.
itself doesn't have a threat.
Yeah.
Another cool thing is that even though we've exterminated hundreds, if not thousands, of alien races, there's so many more for us to find and kill.
There's always another
That's the really
Xenos.
good thing.
Eyes
that
are on you,
should take
crud.
away. So you guys should take away from this that, yes, we've killed a lot, but there's so many more for us to kill.
Yeah.
There's also Xenos hybrids, not just like pure aliens, but aliens that have, either injected their genetic material into humans or humans who have willingly taken alien technology or biotechnological and adapted themselves.
That would blow my mind that a human would use that. Like,
Why?
Maybe I would use it, and then like a minute after I'm done, I'll be
What
like,
have I done?
goodbye, and kill it.
But think, the example for this, District 9
gosh.
has the movie District 9 has an
Great
excellent
movie.
example of human alien tech fusing. An example that I think of would be you find one of these parts of the Imperium. They had lost contact, and this entire human race has said, well, let's adopt some qualities from alien. Not just culture, but let's actually try to adjust what we are as a species. Inquisition comes in and says, look, we're going to wipe you all out, but first maybe let's actually use something that you've done here, which can happen.
Absolutely.
There's even a couple examples of that happening in the Great Crusade, just without the Inquisitions. The
Yes.
Inquisitors.
Well, the
But
Great Crusade
where
was
they-
way more open to
Yeah.
accepting human genetic mutation
Yeah.
than they
Because
are
you're
now.
still human, like alien-human. It's just where you fall. Are you human then alien or alien then
right.
human?
Yeah, there's a couple good examples of it.
Yeah, but during the Great Crusade, everything was hunky dory dandy.
Well, they're still very xenophobic.
Okay, but compared to now.
When is a crusade not a
Still
good time,
even
right?
more xenophobic.
No, that's what I'm
'Cause,
saying.
the
During
whole-
the Great Crusade, you were more likely to be accepted for your genetic mutation than you were now.
Really? No.
Yes.
No, that's
Yes.
retarded. The whole thing about the Great Crusade was wiping out the entire galaxy of anything that was not humanity. That was the point of Great Crusade.
So-
right now, the Inquisition has such power that if anybody deals with Xenos besides the Inquisition, you're dead. Doesn't matter. You pick up an alien weapon, you're dead. I don't care what your motivation was. Where Great Crusade, like,
No.
It depends on the
that's
authority.
False.
It
That
does
is
depend on the authority, because we
false.
know that Reboot Gilliman, at least in the current 8th edition,
Which is gay.
There was the.
I'm frustrated.
there-
I'm pissed.
He's really
Eric,
angry.
set me off now.
Why? Because I was right?
No, you're not right at all.
totally.
No, there's no way you're right.
Totally. Anyways, keep going, Colin.
The involvement of the Inari to bring back Reboot Gilliman, as well as the incredible contribution of Belisarius Call, Mary Sue of the
No,
Mechanicus,
all
but
of
who's
that is
also
bullshit. We're skipping it. I don't want to get into it.
I was totally listening. What's going on?
humanity. There are moments when it is convenient for humanity to adopt or invite in we won't say assistance, but we'll say collaboration with aliens, but we will just as quickly turn around and blast them off the face of this Milky Way galaxy.
I think you should replace humanity with Games Workshop. Sometimes it's convenient for Games Workshop to write stories like this,
Well-
and not for humanity to do it. It's not convenient. Like here's what so Eric, you're saying
Listen to this. It's a sentence pulled off. In more liberal times under the Emperor, even markedly divergent adhumans could serve in the Imperial Guard, and now they cannot. So you had a higher chance of your genetic mutation being accepted under the Great Crusade, where the Emperor was, than you do now.
You would see that with Sanguinus and his wings. Like, we will accept
That's
that
what I'm
mutation.
saying. That
did
was
I
what
say?
I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm
You are
arguing.
saying wrong. That's what you're saying. You've been yelling for 5 minutes, and I don't know what for.
I don't know. I'm frustrated.
Relax.
We got to get
Take
past
a
the
breath,
Inquisition.
man.
We got to
Take a
speed it
breath.
up. We're on a timeline here. I'm getting all worked up. I'm anxious. I fucking haven't slept in 2 days. My cat's eye. It's really worrying me.
That's bugging you out, hey?
Okay.
All right.
I'm refreshed.
Lots of aliens working with the Inquisition.
But none of them should.
No, of course
Bottom
not.
line, none of them should. If you work with an alien, you're a heretic. No one should work with aliens.
Absolutely.
And if you're an Inquisitor, you need to be prepared for when you deal with aliens. You have to have your gear.
Yes.
What kind of,
Of
gear
course.
do they have, Eric?
Well, they've got lots. They have armors and boots, backpacks. Ooh, knives.
That's very good.
I'm assuming.
Can I tell you a few more?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'd love to hear more.
First one that you will see when you see an Inquisitor, and you will recognize it's an Inquisitor: bitchin' cloaks, trench coats.
oh my god,
jeez.
you and your robes.
Robes. No, here's the thing. When you look at an Inquisitor, you know that they are cool because they look like they could be anything. They could be from a Western, they could be from a film noir. They follow this long tradition of long cloaks being donned by masculine figures who are badass.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't be a small Inquisitor. I'm sorry, but you're going to be stuck in like one of those ordos that all you're doing is like looking at the history of the Inquisition if you're a small guy.
Yeah.
But if you want to be on the front lines, you have to be badass.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
And so I actually kind of like what you wrote here, and you put how the seal is like the most important like arsenal.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they have.
It's,
And that completely skipped my mind is the fact that like their most important power comes from the fact that they're a member of the Inquisition, and like doesn't matter like what gun or staff or sword you carry, but that authority is the most powerful thing you could ever carry.
their power is the Inquisitorial Rosette, the symbol that they can pull out at any moment and say, "I have unlimited authority." It's a kind of a crazy notion because you think of the power that symbols have. What does the Rosette look like? You usually see like it is a stick of an eye and there's
It's
a
an eye.
skull.
Yes. The eye being the sigil of Malcador, the sigilite. Yes.
But those symbols carry power. It's the same as if you were to see
Only if you give them power.
well, true, but we see them used in countries where there's an authoritarian nationalism. A lot of people, when they see the Inquisitorial Rosette, they think, oh, the Gestapo, World War II.
Sure, yeah.
But
it's the secret police.
yeah, but a symbol like that actually goes back even further. You see it in the French Revolution. You see it with the Austrian
Where's
Empire.
Christian when you need them?
I know. I'm thinking.
not a history
I'm reading your
guy.
notes, and I'm just like, that's a lot of stuff that is in our real universe. That is
Terrifying.
Not 40K. Where
I
is
just-
Christian so I can?
Where's Christian? That's the big thing here.
But for an Inquisitor, it's not just about their ability to wipe out races. It's the fact that they could go into any imperial city and restrict voting. They could, for smaller lords, they could walk in and say, "Your entire Knight Legion is coming with me." That authority is more powerful than any gun, any spaceship.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Absolutely. Authority given through fear.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Through the God Emperor.
Right, of course. It's a good fear. A fear that every imperial citizen should have. Because if you don't have that fear, you're probably going to mess up. Anyways, the Another thing we're going to talk about that they have is a lot of Xenos tech. And obviously, like, they're a member of the Inquisition. They can pretty much have whatever they want. They can have power armor. They can have power swords. They can have bolt guns even if they want to. What makes the Ordo Xenos special, though, aside from all the regular stuff, is the amount of Xenos technology that, though not authorized, they do use. We have a couple examples.
Now, I don't know a few of what these are.
It's okay. Even we, like, the Scythian Venom Talon comes from the Scythian race.
And it is a small dagger-like venom talon.
Right. That's as good as we've got on it. But these are just a couple names of other things. The Satan Phase Sword, obviously, is a reference to the Necron. So, funny thing is that this doesn't exist in, like, any Necron.
They don't have the sword from which
there's no
it's named?
such thing as a Satan Phase Sword in the Necron. But when you click on it, it does talk about how it uses, like, Necron phase technology. Okay. But another cool thing about that is if that ever comes into contact with a Satan's body, it will just absorb into the Satan, and the Satan will be made stronger for it. I don't know. It doesn't affect the Satan at all, other than absorbing the weapon. So, like, calls it back to its master. It's clearly necrodermis.
Heaven forbid to be the first Space Marine to, like, charge and, like, stab it in and be like, oh, I was not expecting that.
All you have left is, like, a hilt in your hand. Like,
It still has the power of the Aquila on the hilt, though.
Exactly.
So it's fine.
Emperor
bashing
protects
the Satan.
Sword turned into a club.
Any weapon. Anything is a weapon in the hands of a righteous man. Another thing we have is Ulumathic Plasma Siphon, and this is from the race of the Ulumathians.
Yeah. We talked about them once upon a time.
Yeah.
Minor Xenos races?
It was in our minor Xenos races.
Ah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they have a weapon that the Ordo Xenos took and likes to use. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's some type of weird, like, it sucks the plasma out of there and makes your plasma guns more powerful. So, very alien
It's
technology.
more plasma than regular plasma. So.
Super
Dangerous.
plasma.
An interesting thing that is actually alien technology, though, conversion beamers.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever say where it comes from. There's a bunch of, like, stuff that we found that you're like, why? How is that alien?
Yeah, how is that Xenos? I always thought that was like an Imperium thing.
But we didn't include them because they didn't include, like, the race they're from.
yeah,
So
and they don't have a lot of information about
Is it possible
this.
it could have been from other human races that had offshooted during
Oh, sure.
prior to the Great
possible.
Crusade?
Yeah, completely possible, but not human enough to be considered human.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. We probably killed them all.
That's the rub, yeah.
I see another one you put in a couple, Stygus 8.
Yes.
Oh, he threw in Mechanicum stuff for sure.
Here's the deal,
Oh,
guys.
God.
The Inquisition does like to say, no alien tech allowed. But then they will use alien tech.
Yes. On the side and in the down low.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
so-
you tell little kids, don't play with the
Don't
oven.
play with guns, but
I'll play with
I'll
guns.
play with guns.
I'm responsible enough.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh.
I know when to end my playing with guns, and it's when I start aiming it at Mark.
Or you start trying to pull the trigger with your toe.
Right, exactly.
What? That's when the fun begins.
That's on the Terra side of the Imperium Aquila. On the other side, the Mechanicus, specifically Styges 8, they try to play a little more fast and loose with Xenos tech, which does bring them into conflict with the Inquisition.
Wow. First of all, only the Inquisition is allowed to play with Xenos tech.
Well, this is the thing, right? Well, so Styges will actually try to play it off that they are not playing with alien tech. Throw a little dab of paint on that. That's not a Necron device. It's an
Shave
old
off.
Necrons have
SCP.
green energy. These LEDs are clearly orange.
Literally just actually throwing LEDs on the side of a Necron phase, But
It's like an orc fixing something.
however, that said, because the Mechanicus are the masters of tech within the joint Imperium, they will have to say, well, specifically Mars, here, Inquisition, here are some things that we let you use, but this means the Deathwatch and the Inquisition will frequently go to Styges 8 and be like, knock it off. Stop what you're doing.
It's like peering over the fence. Like, we know what you're doing over there.
You are going to rip a hole in reality. Please stop. So there are tech priests and Styges who have experimented with different tech. M36 Deathwatch kill teams are sent out by the Ordo Xenos, and the tech priests of Styges have to use quote unquote radical measures to escape, which I like to think of meaning that they are actually phasing through the planet to get away. This is also the beginning of one of my favorite parts of the Inquisition, is the beginning of their shadow war with the Adeptus Mechanicus, where the Inquisition says, whatever alien tech you are doing, Styges, and you, Mars, don't think we've forgotten. You are only one planet away from Holy Terra. We know you're screwing with stuff.
And you didn't even help us during the War of the Beast.
They start to say, okay, we're going to look more closely into what you do. And that's when the Adeptus Administratum and the Inquisition look into Mechanicus tech, and they find all of the scrap code coming back.
Oh, shit.
The Mechanicus release all of these different self-perpetuating programs that delete any mention. So it's literally, you are reading a screen, or it's actually probably more insidious than that. You're going through these files, and the words are erasing as you are reading them. So you know it's there.
But you have no proof because it's gone now. So
Yeah.
then you start writing code to try and salvage this and stop their code, and then they obviously are better at it. So they write code to block your code, and this is the Shadow War.
Yeah. And that's why the Inquisition and the Mechanicus, they will still have moments where they have to work together, but it's always this pursuit of knowledge for the Mechanicus.
I think the Inquisition also would just harbor like a little bit of bitterness that they actually have no control over the Mechanicus.
Yeah.
Because the Inquisition truly feels that they are, well, especially like Cinderman, like he believed that the Inquisition should rule over humanity. It was his like idea that, no one is worthy of commanding humanity other than us. And so a little bit of that will have trickled down through the ages, right? So it's got to irk the Inquisition a little bit that they can't just pull the Master of the Forge, right? And be like, yeah, he's a guilty heretic, kill him.
Why can't they?
I know they totally would.
Why can't they
I'm pretty sure at some point the Mechanicus is going to
get upset?
hit back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wouldn't be pretty.
It's great on the tabletop if you have, armies of the Imperium, you have armies of the Mechanicus. Why are they fighting each other? Well, maybe because there's some sort of Xenos tech that the Mechanicus says, no, we're gonna take it to make sure that it stays in a safe place.
And then
And
we're
the
gonna use it.
Inquisition, well, whether they want to use it or not, the Inquisition's like, you cannot touch this.
Yes.
This is off limits. Because we know
It's
what
not
happened.
our fault that our storage room and our main research room is the same room.
Yeah, and if it just happens to slide from that table to this table, is it
Through
my
the
fault?
X-ray machine so
Yeah.
we can see the
Is
inside.
it really my fault?
Yeah.
No, it's Jerry's.
That's bad urban planning also from the Administratum. We're like, I don't know why these two rooms share one space.
Oh well.
Why would they? Anyways, that is some interesting story behind the Xenos technology that the Inquisition, the Ordo Xenos uses. At least you'd never find the Ordo Malleus using such filthy, degenerative
they just use
technology.
demons.
Yeah, exactly. Much safer. And something else that the Ordo Xenos will use is they have the ability to requisition armies, being the navies of the Imperium, the Imperial Guard regiments of the Imperium, as well as Space Marines. They can even requisition just regular Space Marine armies. And from what I was reading, they actually will do that more often than using the Deathwatch.
Yeah. Well, just like with the Grey Knights, you don't send the Grey Knights into every little conflict. They're a limited resource,
Expensive to make, expensive to upkeep new ones, so you want to make sure that you're only using them when the need is dire.
Yeah.
Just like the Deathwatch.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that we're talking about Space Marines, and now that we've mentioned Deathwatch, let's jump right in.
Yeah. The
All right.
Deathwatch.
Yes.
They are the militant branch of the Ordo Xenos.
Absolutely.
So just like the Ordo Malleus had the Grey Knights, the Ordo Xenos will call upon the Deathwatch when the threat is super dangerous. Like when you really need something done, these are the guys you go to.
Absolutely. They are. I see you added stuff into this.
So the Deathwatch, when we talk about their stories and the lore, a cursory overview of the Deathwatch means that you're going to get usually one of two stories. It's either man versus giant beast. You've got Grendel, like this giant monster, or it's going to be a hunter team versus hordes of aliens. Those are kind of the two tropes of where the Deathwatch fall into.
And the reason you'll never find anything larger than that in Deathwatch is because they operate in extremely tiny teams. They like you're never gonna find like 40 Deathwatch guys close to. I mean, you could. Anything is possible, but the regular is like 5 to 10, and that's like your max kill team that's being sent out for something, right?
Yep.
So
I think you guys forgot one story arc.
what's that?
Oh, just exterminating a race for the fun of it, because they're Xenos.
Oh no, yeah, that happens all the time.
But is that a story or is that just a plot point?
No, that's a story.
Doesn't
Yeah.
that go without saying?
You just exterminate.
Well, absolutely. Part of their goal is to completely eradicate alien races that are Ordo Horrificus, or Xenos Horrificus,
Yeah.
that have been designated deadly to the Imperium.
Yeah.
They'll also go on like tech hunts and stuff too for like Inquisitors, and they're like be Inquisitors' personal bodyguards. Like, so if Inquisitors going into like an ancient tomb, like he might of an ancient civilization that he knows nothing about. He might call upon a squad of Deathwatch to protect them.
Of course.
So-
Obviously very rare.
Yeah.
And but definitely that is within an Inquisitor's purview to ask for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the founding of the Deathwatch. So it was actually while Wynand and Cinderman are having a little petty fight over how to best deal with Xenos threats and how to protect the Imperium, during the War of the Beast, Chapter Master Colyn, who was he? The
Imperial Fist.
Okay, so he's the Imperial Fist Chapter Master. He came up with Cinderman that like the best thing to do is to create small pockets of Space Marines in order to fight this threat, and that the hammer wasn't working. So instead of the hammer, they're going to use tiny little instruments everywhere. But I think how it went is like they didn't have enough of his own to do it, so they just asked all the other chapters around them for like, hey, like we want to do this thing, like we need help from you guys. And a bunch of different Space Marines from a bunch of different chapters just all were like, yes, we agree with you, and they formed their own kill teams.
Yeah, because you can essentially form an entirely new chapter if every chapter just gives you one Marine. It's
Right.
no big loss to them, but you have this whole new chapter.
Exactly, yeah. But they had a bunch of access to a bunch of different chapters. They got these things, and these things operated in very tiny, very autonomous units. And that was like the founding of the Deathwatch. And there wasn't even like time to create.
Yeah, it wasn't an
real-
official founding or anything. Like they did like one small squad of this, and they ended up actually going to that attack moon that you were talking about.
That was their very first mission.
Yeah,
Was going to
and,
the attack moon.
and they were able to destroy it. So like it proved that this is a useful way to do things. That you can actually get a bunch of Astartes from different chapters to work together, and it can be very useful.
Right, of course. And that was kind of like their testament.
Yeah.
Right, like, hey, look, you know, now that you've approved and you sanctioned this proves that it's a useful and viable option.
I'm sure that the story for this involves a lot of hand holding. Like they approach a wall, and it's like, oh, if only we knew how to get over this wall.
I am an Iron Hem.
Yeah, I know all about walls. You
Yeah,
know, and they get to
exactly.
their next challenge. Oh no, what about deserts? You know, and then
What about honor?
Yeah.
I'm an Ultramarine.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's a lot of that, and so they end up working together, and they actually destroyed the attack moon.
And that is the like prescribed theory that most people would opt in as like the accepted one for the creation.
Yeah, but as we know, with the Inquisition, there are Inquisition Ordos that are devoted to discovering the true origins and the true founding of things. Because, like, if we're looking at it, it's, like, been 8,000 years. Like, that's a long time. Like, we don't have any idea what happened 8,000 years ago. Like, we might think we know what happened 8,000 years
I
ago.
know what happened 8,000 years ago.
We most likely don't, though.
I know what happened.
You know everything.
I'm not going to share it.
So there's a second theory that really isn't as predominant now, especially with the War of the Beast books. But the theory goes that a group of Inquisitors formed a conclave, and they're just discussing, like, oh, there's too many Xenos. Like, how do we get rid of all these Xenos? And it took them, like, a couple years to finally realize, oh, maybe we should talk to some Space Marine chapter masters, ask for their support. It literally took them a couple years to come up with this idea. So they gather a bunch of us chapter masters, and they ask them for support, and each chapter master vows to support them, and they give them a handful of troops.
Yes. And that's like The end result is the exact same thing, but
Yeah.
it's not nearly as involved
Yeah.
as like the first one is, like with
Yeah.
the War of the Beast.
Yeah, like the War of the Beasts is definitely the way it happened. Like that just came out 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, pretty recently.
But the Deathwatch have been around for a long time in the lore, like almost probably 20 years in the lore.
Very long
So.
time. Yeah.
But either way, the Fortress Monastery of the Deathwatch, like their main homeworld, is Talaressa Prime, and this is where the Watch Commander resides. But they have a bunch of bases all over the galaxy.
Yeah, they're a very
Yeah.
mobile
yeah.
platform. Like they don't want to have any one place because they need to be able to strike
Yeah.
everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it in a bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's completely true. Like, it's not like the Salamanders where they only have Nocturne, and that's their base. They never, well, they obviously leave it, but they never found.
They
new base.
never leave
They
Nocturne.
never leave their.
That is the safest planet ever. Just an entire chapter of Space Marines lives on it.
Yeah. So let's talk about recruitment for the Astartes of the Deathwatch, because it's very different than how regular chapters recruit their guys.
Very different because they don't have a gene seed.
Yeah, because they don't recruit. They, in a typical sense, they're drawn from all the chapters that are willing to donate the members to the Ordo Xenos,
Or who have sworn oaths that they will do it.
Yeah. So what this really essentially means is they're already getting full Space Marines. They don't have to go to some death world, find a 12-year-old child, abduct them, and give them the gene seed.
I don't think that happens in any of them, Mark.
It's a mental fortitude test, Eric.
I don't think it is.
You tell me that your mental mind wouldn't break if you were.
Oh no, it probably would, but I'm saying that's probably.
Then sorry,
not a
Eric, you're
test.
not a Space Marine.
I don't think I would be.
But yeah, so that means that the Deathwatch are actually getting like a full Astartes. Yeah, and like the reason that Deathwatch or Astartes will join the Deathwatch can have a number of different reasons to it. There can be like it can be viewed as like a position of honor to go join the Deathwatch, because like it's the best of the best.
Yeah.
Like you send your best members there to gain more experience and to like win your chapter favor and honor. Few chapters use it as a type of punishment. Like Uriel Ventress of the Ultramarines was basically sent to the Deathwatch because he messed up, and yeah,
Idiot.
But
Terrible.
yeah, like entire chapters have also been destroyed, and then maybe like an Astartes or two will be kicking about still.
Yeah, and it's like at that point, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like you don't refound your chapter. Maybe the whole gene seed stock has been destroyed, so they just end up joining the Deathwatch. And you want to read one of these things?
Another couple of ones would be a personal penance. So like you feel that, you know, like either you have done something like so heinous that the only way to atone for it is to join the Deathwatch, or maybe you witnessed something like your battle brothers and you couldn't be around them, so you're going there to absolve their sin as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, like
you've personally determined that, like, it's a self-imposed punishment
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, because you could be like a captain leading like 100 Marines, and you led them into a horrible battle. All 100 of them died, and then it's like as penance, you're like, well,
Yeah, even though the chapter is like, yo, this
that happens, like bad
Yeah.
intel, but yeah, so, whatever. You can come up with many different reasons, and they actually have like they go on like the Eternal Watch. Think very much like, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. Think very much like Game of Thrones, the
Night's Watch.
The Night's Watch. I don't like to make cultural references. You know, it's like trying to finish my 40K with my 40K.
Yeah.
But like, think very much like that, where they literally will just go and like join the Night's Watch, the Death Watch, and watch a certain area of space forever.
Yeah, for as long as they're alive.
Yeah.
Like and your like service to the Death Watch can be like for a term.
Yeah.
Right?
Which most are.
It's a temporary term. You go. You
Yeah.
already know how long you're going to be there. As soon as you're done serving that term,
Yeah.
you leave and you go back to your chapter.
Or
Or you're like, that was a lot of, like, I felt purpose in this. I
Yes.
want to stick around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You definitely have the ability to stay.
Yeah.
The Deathwatch doesn't normally turn down Marines.
No. And you also will serve on missions too. Like, you're there until that mission is complete, and then you can leave. So it's like, even if you had a term and you're like, my term's up in 4 years, but I'm still on this mission, I got to finish this mission.
Now, can those be larger if you have a really jerk Inquisitor who's like, your mission...
Oh, yeah.
Should
You
you
cannot.
choose to accept.
You are not allowed to choose. Is going to be the complete destruction of the Eldari. Go. And you're
Yeah.
like, but what?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I could
absolutely.
definitely see that
Yeah.
happening.
Good luck.
We know the Imperium is not a reasonable place, so
No.
that seems perfectly reasonable for them to be
You're not unreasonable.
unreasonable.
No.
That would be pretty terrible, though, in all honesty. And then the last couple ones we have is if the Deathwatch requires a chapter to honor their sacred vow
Yeah.
that they said they would give Marines to you, like, hey, Black Templar, like, you haven't given anyone in 300 years.
Yeah.
What the H?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Black Templar's like, for the Emperor, and they go join, right? Like,
Sorry, paperwork got lost in the mail.
yeah, exactly. Oh, shoot.
We're here for back taxes.
Ugh. That's okay. They have men to
They
spare.
got some, yeah. And this isn't the final reason. You can come up with 1,000.
It's all personal motivation
Yeah.
to join the Deathwatch.
Yeah, and-
unless your chapter master is being like, you little bitch, Uriel, you're going to the Deathwatch.
But yeah, you could even just join for personal glory and like to try to make your name for yourself in the galaxy. The one thing that is super unique to the Deathwatch are black shields. They actually existed in 30K a little bit too, but in a different organization, but a very similar vibe. Basically, though, a black shield is Astartes who approaches the Deathwatch and their heraldry is removed, whether they scrape it off, whether they just not
Paint
even
over it.
maybe they're not even wearing power armor
Yeah,
at
might
this
not even be
point.
wearing it. But
but either way, you can't
don't-
tell-
Yeah,
yeah,
you
you-
don't know what chapter they're from.
Yeah, and they will petition the Watch Commander for entry into the Order. And they will have a secret conversation between the two of them, and the Watch Commander will question, like, who are you? Where do you come from? Why are you trying to join? Like, and oftentimes, too, I think a Psyker is even there to probe his mind and make sure that his intentions are true.
Step 4 of the
Exactly.
interrogation list.
Yeah.
So why would they accept people like this? Why would you be forced to scrape all of your sigils, your background, your history? Because there's some very good reasons.
Absolutely. Like, the best example that I had read was that, like, hey, say your chapter turns to chaos or starts worshiping a chaos, but you're like, I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
So then instead of you showing up and like, hey, that chapter just turned traitor and everyone shoots
Hi.
you down.
Yeah.
But like, you're like, I can't get with that. So you go petition the Deathwatch to join them, but you do it where no one knows what chapter you are.
Yeah. It's you walk in, you're like, my name is Geratus. I am of yeah. What was that? Did he say Death Guard? And it's like, no, I said scraping it off the ceramite.
That's not there or anything. But that would definitely be something. Another thing is you just might not want anyone to know what chapter you're from.
Yeah. Like,
Right? That's more of like a secretive reason and
Yeah.
not really like a safety reason. But it still exists.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
You could. One of the things I like about the Deathwatch is they're one of the very few where I feel like there's actually a lot of character involved in them
Individually.
as opposed to just like if you're looking at Ultramarine, Space Marines, it's like I don't know.
The boy's in blue.
Yeah, I
Whereas
know.
this one, it's like you got a boy in blue and green and red and black,
each one
and
of
they
them
all
has
have a story.
Yeah, and each one of them usually is like a veteran of like 100 wars and has already done 1,000 great deeds. But yeah, so like, who knows? They might just not want to be associated with their legion or their chapter anymore. Who
Yeah.
knows why they do it? But you can
Who
really
knows?
come up with a number of different reasons.
It's also because you see an oversimplification in different chapters. When you say, oh, I have Space Wolves, or oh, I have Blood Angels, there are character archetypes in those that
Yeah.
people say, yeah, my entire squad just plays by this personality type.
Yeah.
But we know specifically from the Horus Heresy books, and I think the Death Guard are actually a good example for that, for seeing people that are like, screw this, I am out.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
You have individuality within chapters, and the best part of the Deathwatch is it is almost the A team. You are throwing in these disparate personalities,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
saying, now go rock and roll.
Yeah.
And they're going to butt heads. It's great for conflict. It's great for story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of the best like chapters that exists for like playing in. Because if you're an Ultramarine, like it's like who's the most honorable,
Who's the most ultramarine of the ultramarines?
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
like,
can kind of fall into that territory.
if you're playing Black Temple, like who's the
Yeah.
most pious of all the Black Temple? But when you're playing in the Deathwatch, it's like it totally makes sense to have completely conflicting characters.
Yeah. So let's talk about how far is a watch commander willing to pardon before he's like, sorry, man, not letting you in.
Mark and I had very differing views on this.
A rigorous debate. A rousing debate.
In my view, heresy is still heresy, and the only forgiveness a heretic gets is at a bolter round.
Okay. Mark, say your piece.
Okay, so Wynard.
Tone it down. Say it at a 5. Well, where can heresy be forgiven, I guess, is the debate.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and to me, it all comes down to the watch commander. Ultimately, like, if I'm a watch commander, I would act completely different than if Eric was a watch commander.
Yeah.
So
But
there
you
is
think
no
it would-
standard. There is no checkbook. There is no right. There is no wrong. There is 9 rights of interrogation.
So hearing that there is no right and there is no wrong, Colin, how do you think this watch commander would feel about physical mutations, such as a mouth growing out of your stomach, chewing through your armor?
And
Do you have
ultimately,
any ointment you can put on it? Like, it's just,
maybe a cloth you could wrap around that, or
and
something?
ultimately, I think that is the one line that I don't think any watch commander would tolerate is mutation.
Okay,
like
If
ruinous power influence.
Exactly.
That you cannot
If-
reduce.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got to that point, and then my next question was, well, sure, physical mutations are easy to see and easy to spot, but what about mutations or sicknesses of your soul?
And that's why you
Or of
have
your
that
mind.
psyker there to like.
But so it's
Either-
not just a physical mutation then.
Well,
But you can like mind wipe the guy.
But you
like,
can't change their soul.
There's
what
no such
is
thing
the
as soul.
soul?
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
no.
the
There is a
soul.
soul. We've established in 40k souls
Absolutely.
exist.
That's your tie to the warp. That's your representation in the warp. And if Slanesh has claimed your soul in the warp, then
That's a
there's
funny word.
A psyker. If Slanesh has
Sure.
claimed your tie to the warp,
Yeah.
has claimed your emotional supremacy,
Can
then
he claim it though?
Absolutely, he can.
Forever, and you can never get it
Absolutely.
back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
and
the
at
ruinous,
that-
when the
and at
ruinous
that
powers
point,
take their blessing, they kill you.
sure.
You cannot
Yes.
opt out of their blessing.
Okay, thanks. I'm good.
Right. Then they just
Sure.
kill you. We talked about that through
No,
demonic
yeah.
possession
Yeah,
and demonic
there,
hosting.
there is a line.
So that's what I'm saying is it cannot just be physical.
I honestly think it is, man. Maybe you got a psyker that now follows you around and it keeps you safe from the ruinous powers. I'm not saying it's likely, Eric. All I'm saying is you can fight the ruinous powers of chaos. You can. Yes, you can. Abaddon does it all the time.
Well, it's more they've
I think
allowed
he
him
plays.
to.
I think he plays one against the other. I don't think he fights them.
Well,
They're
yeah,
pretty
but-
much on his side. They're like,
No,
we
but-
like what you're doing.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
but like
he
he
has
doesn't
done
bend.
more
He
for
doesn't.
them.
He doesn't bend to any of their will.
Correct.
Like
I don't.
he
think
has all their powers.
their blessings.
Yeah, but he doesn't bend to any of their will. He does what he wants to do.
I believe he could though.
But
he
going
could
back
be
to-
made to bend.
Going back to
Anywho.
irregular Astartes
Yes.
who we are concerned
Yes.
about getting into the Deathwatch.
Ultimately, yeah, if you have a physical mutation, if you're really, really mentally corrupt, absolutely, sure.
So you do have a line.
yes, there's still that line, absolutely. But I think from my opinion, the line is just those two things. Let's say if you were a Black Legion member and you killed 10,000 planets, and you're like, sorry, I'm trying to turn my life around. I would
think
allow
you're talking
it.
about repentance, though. I think you're talking about
Yeah.
the agency of if you have gone through, let's say you get hit by a Nurgle gas attack and now your arms are both tentacles and you're like, well, I didn't want this.
Yeah.
The chapter master may say, let's chop off your arms, give you bionics and see if you can still serve. But
Right?
you've kind of been tainted. Maybe we'll send you off to the Death Watch.
And
Mark
you
is
will
talk-
be watched closely.
Mark is
very
talking about a
closely.
different scenario. Mark
True.
is talking
Even that-
a
even that
willing.
scenario.
Well, I think that's the
willing.
important point, is that if it's someone who's like, I am going to secretly circumvent this team that I am on, and I will make sure they run into ruin.
Well, that's why you have that psyker there probing their mind to make sure that they're not accepting these guys that are like clearly there to fuck you over.
You're putting in a lot of effort for one guy, which personally I don't think is worth it, but for you totally might be. But like, and the thing is,
And Astartes
no
is
guy is
just-
showing up. No Space Marine is showing up with tentacle arms
No.
to the Death Watch.
No.
They would already have their bionic arms.
Sure.
At that point, like
Yeah.
the Deathwatch isn't being like, "Oh, bring your chaos team to
No,
us and we'll take care of it."
And that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm just saying, like,
it is up to the Watch Commander.
It's up to the Watch Commander, and if you had a guy, a Chaos Space Marine, and he committed horrible things, and he's like, "I'm trying to change my life,"
Yeah.
I think he would be allowed.
So Karn.
because
Karn could join the Deathwatch.
he has mental mutation, though. Like, he has the butcher's nails. There's nothing you can do about it. He's just a crazy psychopath. Like, there is still that line, of course. There's always that line, but
You may look at it in terms of motivation. Because if you had a Night Lord show up,
Yeah.
and you're like, this guy murders to a insane degree, you may as a chapter say, well, we're the Blood Angels. We can kind of sympathize with the fact that maybe you lose control. And they may look at it from their own perspective. They invite him in and they go, this was a really bad idea.
Yeah,
Because there's a difference between uncontrollable bloodlust and murder.
yeah. I just believe in change. I believe in the ability for somebody to change who they are.
I think
At any
I think
point.
there's definitely a point of no return, and in 40K, I just don't think they take risks. I think
And
like,
Astartes is worth a risk, though.
I don't think
Absolutely.
so.
They are such a rare commodity, man, that it is worth the risk. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Without a doubt. To me, an Astartes is worth the
But
risk.
only an Astartes can make that call on another Astartes, I would argue,
Oh,
for the
sure.
for the captain. If
Oh,
you-
and then ultimately it does
well,
come up
an
to the
Inquisitor
captain.
could in
True.
a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yep. It's not like you're
what?
going to have like guardsman 3247th division who's like, man, I think that Astartes should really join the Deathwatch because he's looking a little crazy. No, like
No, like an Inquisitor could come on, like if he for some reason found out your history,
Yeah.
like absolutely he supersedes the Watch Commanders.
I don't think he
Absolutely.
does, man.
The Ordo Malleus is
No
literally
way.
the watchman for everyone.
Okay, if an Ordo Malleus, sure.
Yes, of course.
But
they-
if a Ordo Xenos one, I don't think so, man. I think that Watch Commander is going to stick up for
in
him.
their own fortress. Yes, the Watch Commander is king for that. But Ordo Malleus comes in, like you have no control over that.
it's that Imperial Rosette again. That's
You can still say no to the Inquisition if you're a Space Marine. We've talked about it many times. You can say no to
The
them.
more I read about the Inquisition, the
the
less,
more you get twisted and
the
you believe their
less likely
propaganda.
I believe.
Okay,
that
here's
space-
my prime example. You ever heard of the Space Wolves? They fucking shot at the Inquisition. They killed hundreds of Inquisitors. They're fine. It's
Who
not
would
a big,
win, the Inquisition or Space Wolves?
The Space Wolves won. They got the Inquisition
in
to
a
back
full
down.
army.
They
In a
literally.
full- in
it
a
doesn't
full
matter.
war.
No, they got. Oh, in a full war, probably the Astartes would win because as soon as you take on the Space Wolves, sorry, you're now taking on the Ultramarines. You're taking on all the other Astartes.
If they've determined that what they have is a mutation of the gene seed and it has psychic
That's not the
abilities,
question,
and all of
though.
a sudden the Ordo Malleus shows up and the Grey Knights deal with what they need to deal with, the Space Wolves are getting destroyed.
because the Inquisition could requisition the other legions and say, okay, salamanders, okay, iron hands, okay,
And they're gonna be
now
like, no, sorry.
everything
How
is
do you
getting
know,
wiped
though?
out, and
Because
the Mechanicus comes in and
this is-
takes the loot.
This is a literal story in 40K that has happened where the Space Wolves stood up, killed a bunch of Inquisitors, and did not get reprimanded for it.
And other Space Marines join them?
No. Because
So they didn't.
They also did not join the Inquisition.
Or did the Inquisition ask for their help?
I'm sure they woulda.
Well,
Well, if
because they
it's not
literally
written, I don't
had
know.
Grey Knights
Yeah,
shooting
speculative.
upon them. They had armies firing upon the Space Wolves. It's a whole big thing, and they're like, "Sorry,
I
like,
truly believe that
I don't care what you believe. I'm telling you what has happened in the lore,
'Kay.
which can also set the precedent for what else
all
happens
right,
in
yes,
the lore.
if a little part of the Inquisition gets into a conflict with the
It was
entire
not
chapters,
a little
so it was
part.
it was
It
all
was-
the army that the Inquisition can bring to bear, which is all the Imperial navies and all the Imperial guards and the Sisters of Battle and the Deathwatch and the Ordo Malleus.
Yeah,
all of that comes down.
yeah.
Space Wolves lose.
yeah,
Okay,
sure,
thank you.
but they don't because they didn't because it happened.
Well, I
And
don't know
this
why.
is true.
Look, I didn't write it. I don't know why. I don't know what the reasons are. You didn't read the whole story either. You read the synopsis of it, right? As we do everything.
yeah,
we get a
sure.
piece of the
But
information.
I also listen to hundreds of podcasts, man, hundreds of hours of lore.
It,
Like all I'm
so
saying,
you're saying a Space Marine chapter is more powerful than the Inquisition,
yes,
and I fully disagree on
absolutely
that.
depends on the chapter. If you're talking a founding legion, yes. I'm sorry, you fuck with one of them, like they don't because they can't do anything about it. Like they tried to say that they were renegade. They tried to turn on the Space Wolves. It didn't work. It didn't take. Because there's the whole Games Workshop's motivation.
You know how many days it takes for a signal to get from the Space Wolves to another chapter if they're going to be, turning on the Inquisition? 33.
You're lying.
Oh, yes, I am. Moving on.
Yeah, anyways, that's Eric, I agree with you to some degree, but I disagree with you in another degree. Two things can be true at the same time.
You and me are the exact same person.
Yeah.
Just different in many, many ways.
No, there can
You're
be
literally
things that
cat
are
dog.
true. Cat dog.
Cat dog.
Anywho. Black shields are fun.
They're without a doubt one of the coolest things
Yeah.
about the Deathwatch.
Sure.
So we talked about scraping off armor. Chapter colors. But many people still display their colors. Proudly.
Yes. You even actually switch. But before we get into that, let's talk about there was only ever one chapter that has. When I was reading this, I couldn't determine whether the chapter refused to give Space Marines to the Deathwatch or if the Deathwatch refused those Space Marines because of whatever reason.
What chapter was it?
I had no
They didn't
idea,
even
actually.
say
It didn't
name.
say.
Okay. Because the only one that I'm aware of is the Marines Malevolent, which is a chapter the Deathwatch will not work with, so they won't recruit any of them in.
Okay.
Because they super brutal. There was a story where they're involved with the salamanders, and they like collateral damage. Like, we're gonna wayward shoot, and sorry, Imperial Guard.
Okay.
But what happens is like when you have that much or when you have that much arrogance over the rest of humanity as a Space Marine, it shows that your way of thinking has kind of elevated to a transhuman state, that you don't even think of yourself as human anymore. So there's kind of this fear of like, do we really want them working with us?
Do we believe that they would be willing to lay down their life for a brother? Because do they view them as brothers, right? So that could definitely...
The arrogance involved
Yeah.
is
The one weird thing about that is there's plenty of chapters that are equally brutal that do join the Deathwatch, like the Carcharodons or
Sharkadons,
the
as they're
Shark
sometimes called.
or also
Space
the
sharks.
Flesh Terrors are known to just go in crazy rampages and kill Imperial Guardsmen, yet they're still in the Deathwatch. So I'd be curious to see like
What did they do that was
Why-
actually...
Well,
Marines Malevolent didn't have a good PR team. They didn't have a good hype man. Who
yeah,
was like,
right? They didn't have tabletop rules or a hero model.
Yeah.
So yeah.
they failed the morale test.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to know what exactly they did, because it can't just be they open fired onto some Imperial Guardsmen intentionally even.
Yeah.
The only way we can shoot them is if we shoot through our own guys.
That's what armor-piercing bullets are for, to shoot through squishy humans.
Human piercing bullets are all bullets.
But that just shows an example of the Deathwatch actually refusing service to a Marine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about...
Because some watch commanders, they'll allow different people into their fortresses. Some will allow...
Oh, this just shows that Marines aren't nearly as important as you think they are, and that they are more than willing to refuse service to a Marine.
Two different viewpoints, equally right.
Let's talk about what happens when you actually join the Deathwatch. So normally you wear your chapter symbol on your left pauldron, and you wear your
Heart on your sleeve.
you wear
Well,
your,
yeah. He's not wrong.
No, he's not. You wear your squad marking on your right shoulder.
Yeah.
That's the standard, what you'd see on a regular Marine. When you go to join the Deathwatch, you actually paint all your armor completely black. You move your chapter symbol from the left to the right side. Your left becomes the symbol of the Inquisition, the eye of Malcador Sigillite, and your entire left arm is painted silver in order to not disturb the machine spirit.
Yeah. And some people might be wondering, well, what about squad markings? Like, because they removed their squad markings. Like, the Deathwatch squads are very flexible. Like, you might be with this guy one day and this guy then. Like, they're super flexible.
And they constantly
it's mission
try,
to mission.
Yeah, they try and get as much variation in each kill team as possible, because they don't want 5 Ultramarines working together.
Yeah.
Because they'll all think like Ultramarines.
Meet different threats as they emerge. You need different ways of
absolutely.
thinking.
Yeah. But, so they don't have squad markings. And even, like, when the Deathwatch are deployed, it's like 5 guys. It's like, okay, are you 5 in a squad? It's like, yeah, we're the only
No.
5 here.
No, we are not.
So, yeah, but one thing I would like to see happen with their color scheme is I wish they did their entire arm their chapter color. So they had an entire silver arm and an entire blue arm. if they were
Instead of
Ultramarine.
just the shoulder.
Just because with just the black armor, it doesn't... I don't know, black armor's so tough to paint. Like, so tough to make look good, but this would add just like a flash of color to all them, and it just looked.
It would be a lot of color though compared to what you're used to seeing.
One arm's not
Yeah.
not the biggest deal, but that's all.
You can always paint it with one arm.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you could come up with a reason for it, right?
Oh, and it wouldn't even be heretical at all. There's
Yeah.
no big
Well,
deal. I'm just
a
saying.
little
I'm just saying
heretical.
people should start doing this. That's all I'm saying. you know?
Sorry, Mark, are your Deathwatch guys painted a shoulder or an arm?
Depends on the ones I'm going to do or the ones I've done.
I'm more thinking of the ones you've done.
Because I stay true to the Codex Astartes, okay?
Even
Fine.
when it hurts my soul, I do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's their armor. Now we did have something we were going to talk about in the armor. Is that coming later, Marcus?
Yeah, much later, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll talk about their organization. So we know how Deathwatch joined how Astartes joined the Deathwatch. Then what happens to them? Obviously, they have a hierarchical branch or whatever, an organization that way. So at the very top is the Watch Commander, and he's that guy who is on Talisar Prime, and he basically is the chapter master essentially. He runs all of it.
And the interesting thing is, he's not from the Deathwatch, right? He
No.
comes from a different chapter.
Yeah. The very first one is Asgar Warfist of the Space Wolves, and he was the very first commander. Which, yeah, okay, sure, interesting.
Back in M32.
Yeah. I wonder if he's mentioned in the
War of the Beast.
War of the Beast.
He must be.
Yeah, because
That's where it was created.
yeah,
so.
exactly. Maybe he was one of the first ones that did the orc attack, or who knows,
The
orc
attack moon, yeah.
But underneath that, we have Watchmasters, and a Watchmaster is in charge of a watch fortress, and a watch fortress will house a bunch of different squads, but we're not talking hundreds of Marines in a watch fortress. We're talking maybe 100.
Yeah, 100 Marines, but also that includes chaplains, librarians, masters of the forge.
All these other things, like
a bunch of like side things like munitions, like ships, tanks, everything that they might need. It's like a
we'll talk about watch
it's
fortresses.
a big
and-
armory.
Yeah. Under them, you have watch captains, and they're in charge of watch stations, which are usually a lot smaller. And we'll talk more about them later. But they'll be in charge of usually just 1 or 2 kill teams, kind of just as the threat arrives, they'll be in charge of them. So one of the specialty ranks that's kind of the higher ups. The rest of the ranks are kind of all equal to a sense.
They just perform different roles.
Exactly.
And functions.
Like you might even honor some more than the others, but that's who you get your orders from. Like if you're in the Deathwatch and a chaplain orders you to do something, you might not have to do it. You'd go check with your watch captain first, just like in a normal Space Marine chapter. Like obviously, if it's in the heat of battle and he's like, "Go take that hill," maybe that's a different story. But like the chaplain's not sending you out on missions.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the unique ranks that the Deathwatch have, they're called keepers, and the interesting thing about them is they actually serve for life, and what they do is they have access to all of the knowledge of the Deathwatch, like all the data crypts, and also like they have access to the watch fortresses, watch stations, like armory or tech keep that holds like all these crazy Xenos relics. And like we've talked about some Xenos relics, some of them like destroy entire suns and galaxies. Like these guys are making sure no one else is looking at them. And they basically wander the watch fortress guarding these or going out on missions to collect more Xenos relics. And like if you want to go into one of these Xenos relic vaults, you have to talk to them. Like even Inquisitors can't go into these Deathwatch vaults without the Keeper's permission.
I don't think they let anyone in. I think the Watch Commander is the one who determines that. Like, the Inquisitor has to go to the Watch Commander and get their permission, and then the Keeper
it
will
all
let
kind
them
of
in.
and then the Keeper would actually take them to
Exactly,
it.
yeah.
Like it all kind of funnels through the top 3 commander positions, watch positions.
Why
but
are you adding that? It's a Forge Master.
So as per normal Space Marines, you have all your kind of variations. You have your chaplains, you have your librarians, you got your forge masters, like your tech priests.
The thing to know about all of these things is that, like, sure, you're a tech priest, but you're actually the best tech priest.
Yeah, exactly. And you might even not even be like a soldier at this point. You might even just be making all the special Xenos or not Xenos, all the special Xenos killing. Yes, that was what I was going to say.
That's what we're
Good
going to say.
Xenos killing weapons. Like they're going to be
Inquisition almost
making like
showed
the
up.
Hellfire rounds for your
Yeah.
bolters and stuff like that.
Because everything that they use is so crazy that
Yeah.
it just requires that much more knowledge.
Yeah, or they might be the ones like hacking into a Xenos mainframe to get their knowledge. Chaplains also have a very unique role because they actually have to know 1,000 chapters lore, or at the very least, everyone who is in their watch station.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
have to know all the rituals, how to drink the blood with the blood angels, how to sex with a wolf if you're a space wolf,
Of course, yes.
how to honor Gilliman if you're an Ultraman. They have to know all these rituals.
Yeah.
And,
For someone who loves Wikipedia, that must be like the most ultimate, like, yes, I know everything.
You think there's like a Wikipedia for in like the 41st millennium?
I don't know if they ever really mention any type of like internet-y type like it's very like archaic with like scrolls and actual
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Scrolls
library.
Vox is effectively kind of a more high-tech radio.
Yeah,
The closest
exactly.
thing is the news sphere, which you're able to like glean data from around the world, but it's not a transference of data.
Yeah, and it's not like galactic either.
No, it would be
Like,
world to world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got all your kind of other things. You got champions and all those kind of typical things. The one thing that they do have, though, are called kill teams. And we've kind of talked about this. This is your standard squad. So this is what you'd call a squad of 5 to 10 guys is a kill team. And they are made up of kill marines.
Which is
Which use
Like-
kill guns
Well,
and
so,
no kill armor.
so
when they go into kill combat and they kill fight.
I make this distinction because there are times where you will just send a kill marine out to go do a mission. He might go scout a colony that is rumored to be infested by gene stealer cultists, and they just need one guy to go out there and to inspect it. So it's just like a kill marine.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a kill team.
No, it's not a kill team.
But the interesting thing about kill teams is that they are not permanent at all
No, like they can vary so much. It'll probably be permanent for the mission.
for the mission.
But after
for the
that, then
task.
yeah, because like they get their mission. They're like, okay, we need to go do X. These 5 Space Marines are going to be the best at that task. Gather them.
Barging through a door,
Yeah.
being able to use heavy weapons where we're expecting a large field of fire, being able to maneuver stealthily into a certain location.
Yeah.
It's
So Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, and there's one more. What's your last example?
of Loyalist chapters, or
Yeah. You're saying scenarios, and I'm saying the chapter that best suits it.
You are watch commandering right now.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So he said barging through a door, Space Wolves.
Interesting.
Obviously.
Okay.
Using a heavy's weapon in a large field. Now, obviously, most people would think salamanders, big fields of flame, right?
well, that could also be good for rooting out in close quarters.
Absolutely. But I just chose the Blood Angels for that. There's
For heavy weapons.
for no reason
Interesting.
other than the fact that it doesn't make sense.
No, it's close combat. But,
Poor.
okay.
And then
Watch
the next one
Commander
was
Eric.
Dark Angels. I don't remember why. And then it didn't matter what you were going to say as your last one. It was going to be Black Templar.
Because they're good. They're good at all.
Right, exactly.
Riding Harleys, white
Templar.
scars.
Black Templar. That's the only one.
Yeah, so they draw guys from their recruitment or whatever, and they make these kill teams or whatever for missions.
Yeah.
One thing that really was cool a couple years ago was so the Deathwatch didn't get a codex until like 2016, I think.
7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had rules before that, but it wasn't a full codex. But
Was it all in like White Dwarf stuff?
yeah, it was one white dwarf in like 2004, chapter approved type thing,
Okay.
and it was just one squad. It was basically just a tactical squad that had preferred enemies, Xenos. So it wasn't.
They didn't even have like special ammunition or anything?
I think they might. Yeah, they had special ammunition as well. But
Gotcha.
where a lot of the best Deathwatch lore comes from is the Fantasy Flight RPG game that I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people have heard about. And in that, you can literally like to that I hold that above the Games Workshop's lore personally, just because it seems way more flexible and way more like
This seems way more Deathwatchy.
exactly like I get it, like Games Workshop has to make a feasible army that's balanced for other ones, have a unique role, all that kind of stuff. But when you're talking like kill teams in Fantasy Flight games, you could have a kill team with like a tech marine, a librarian, and maybe just one heavy bolter guy. Like, well, you can't really do that in the Codex for obvious reasons.
Right. Yeah, they don't want every kill team to have a psyker with smite ability.
Exactly.
It's story being built out of game context, because 40k really is about let's throw a big number on the table, whereas when you're creating
Yeah.
an intimate setting of characters,
Exactly.
they all have different motivations and ways of thinking.
That's
'Cause-
why it's ultimately the best setting to role play
Yeah.
in is Deathwatch.
Yes.
As a space marine.
They're all balanced in terms of a gameplay standpoint. So if you've picked up the new Wrath and Glory and you want to play Warhammer RPG, a great example, say, okay, everyone wants to be on a similar playing field, because, if you've got the 4 Imperial Guard and then you've got the 1 Space Marine,
he's got a big dick.
lore would dictate that he's probably going to be your bruiser, your tank in every confrontation.
Yeah. But like I just like Fantasy Flight versions of kill teams way more, because like even like you said, Games Work or 40k tabletop, it's about big armies clashing. You're not supposed to have a big army of Deathwatch. You're supposed to have a small elite 1-man squad, maybe 2, go and do a goal.
They're great as an added detachment,
Exactly.
lore-wise, but if you've got a bunch of
It's
Corvus
the
Black
scalpel.
Star, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. I just
I-
really like the individuality
Yeah,
of
as-
Fantasy Flight games.
As much as I did not like a lot of the game aspects of Fantasy Flight games, it set a really cool place
Yeah.
for you to play
Yeah.
in. And that was appreciated by
Yeah.
me, definitely.
All right, so now we kind of know who's in watch fortresses and watch stations. Let's talk about the actual watch fortress. A watch fortress is bigger than a watch station, but it's basically like, think of any chapter fortress. It's a fully self-sustaining fortress with heavy weapons on it, fully defensible, but unfortunately they're rare, and they're not as common.
Are they very mobile? Like, is this...
No, like, well, maybe. Like, you could have a watch fortress on a battle barge, or you could have one dug into a mountain somewhere. Like, it all kind of depends. But they are rare.
And this is where they keep the pits that they're throwing aliens into
Yes.
for the Inquisition, I'm guessing.
No, I don't
That's
think.
right, because Deathwatch is going to be far more Puritan in their outlook to aliens. Like, shoot them dead.
Yeah.
Inquisition's more like,
Yeah. Plus the Inquisition too. They have their own stations and stuff.
True.
Like I think if an Inquisitor, I don't know. I always go back to, like, I think if an Inquisitor wants to go into a watch fortress, like, you have to ask permission. Like, they're going to say yes because you're an Inquisitor, but you still have to ask. There's that fine line. Like, an Inquisitor can't just go march into the Ultramarines' throne room.
Well, it's because there are in each chapter a sacred space.
Exactly.
That you as a player, or you're forming your narrative, you actually kind of want that to yourself. Like, I freely admit, as a Mechanicus player, I love the idea of never having to accept the Inquisition anywhere near my
And
stuff.
you're one of the ones that can actually say, yeah, no, not a chance. But I think, there is that fine line. So watch fortresses are not like an Ordo Xenos thing. They're a Deathwatch thing. And they'll even house astropaths and navigators and, like,
The tools they need to conduct their
everything. They'll
operations.
have full armories with hundreds of vehicles in it, all the ammunition they need. And they'll also hold, like, any type of Xenos. They might have some, like, Xenos prisoner cells there. They probably would. But I don't think that's where the Inquisitor is personally, like, torturing Xenos,
Yeah.
Underneath them, we have watch stations, and they're way more common, but they have way less resources and firepower. Usually there'll be, like, I know a couple episodes ago we joked about a guy orbiting a moon, watching an up-and-coming Xenos race or whatever. Like, they're usually, like, small little bunkers almost that can hold just maybe a handful of guys, and oftentimes they're even abandoned. Like, they're not a permanent thing. So you could set up a watch station to watch this Xenos race that is developing, like, nuclear technology. And you're like, oh shit, they did it. Then you deploy that squad to go wipe out the whole race. But it's not like an actively, you're always there. You're like, they're constantly changing, adding more. It's not a permanent thing, essentially.
They are there to watch.
Yeah, exactly. A watch station as opposed to a watch fortress. So yeah, those are kind of the two primary things. And yeah, like, that was a good point. Like, are they mobile? Like, yeah, like, you could have a watch station that is on a strike cruiser, like, so.
It's a name for how they're deploying their
Yeah.
usually.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, exactly. It's more of a term that covers a wide variety of things.
Now, I did not know a lot about the locations where they set them up. It seems kind of like a mobile circus of like, let's grab different people together, let's pull together these forces. It's highly militaristic. For anyone who loves special forces and the idea of let's take a tactical team and deploy, this is pretty cool. I think also the fantasy of playing this army is also that same tactical, because what do they have?
Yeah.
They've got cool toys.
Lots of cool toys. So the most common thing that people think about for cool toys for the Deathwatch is their special issue ammunition. So we know kind of what a bolter is. It's a semi-automatic grenade launcher, essentially.
Big shells.
Big shells. I think it's like a 45 caliber or something like that. But there's different types of bolters, different types of bolts. And some are made to literally shoot out 5 feet from your gun, then explode and shoot like flame out. Some are made of acid, so when it comes in contact with like a biomass, it just degrades it. Some are like highly armor piercing. Some can shoot farther. They have 1,000 different types.
I was gonna say, are we listing all of them?
There's psi bolts, there's hellfire rounds, there's kraken rounds.
Bolts for cover.
There's
armor?
those are hellfire.
Now, some have words written on them that say suffer the Xenos not to live.
Yes,
Some say the
yes.
only Xenos is a dead Xenos. Some say, knock, knock, as it comes through the door.
But yes, like every Deathwatch member will have special issue ammunition. They're fighting Tyranids. They're going to be using the right ammunition for the right job.
Yeah.
Another thing that they do is they are known to use Xenos technology. They have those phase swords. They have all types of fun stuff.
But they get all up in arms when a simple Forge world is shifting through reality.
Like I said, you don't let children play with the oven. I'm going to go home and cook a pizza.
It's bad parenting. That's what it is.
Bad parenting, yes.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
So your official stance on children using the oven is go for it. Is that what I'm getting out of
No,
this?
I just think your parents should have let you crawl into it.
Oh, Rose did.
For all you know, they did. they were.
It didn't take.
Very didn't take. My
What
parents were very
other
lenient.
special toys do they have?
So another very interesting one is called a clavis, and there's only 2 people in the watch fortresses or stations that can use them, and they're the watch captain or watch master, and also the keeper. And what it is, it's a wrist device that you put on your wrist, because it's a wrist device. And
Oh.
Quit putting it on your ankle.
it's not an anklet, it's a wristlet.
Instructions unclear. Dick Cotton fan.
We lost the instructions for this STC. We don't know where you're supposed to put it.
What do you think fits best? Starts taking pants off? No.
Space Marine's dick is big enough for that.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Thigh pistol. Okay,
1 in 5 men, Colin. 1 in 5 men.
What is a clavis? What is a clavis? No, what is a clavis? Is this like a spear, a halberd?
No,
or
it's
that
a
attaches to the arm and
Nope.
javelins people?
Well, it is now.
Okay.
No, it's a wrist-mounted device that the main thing it does is allows you access into anywhere in the watch fortress. The keepers have it, so when
they want to allow
yeah.
someone access to their secret tech crypt rooms, data stuff, they can let them in through using
Yeah.
the clavis.
So it's a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other big thing is, like you said, it
It's
is
a
a
big
tool.
dick tool, okay?
Big dick tool. It is actually very advanced and can run a whole bunch of decryption technologies. So if you're trying to hack something, it can run a whole bunch of these algorithms, and it has a super smart AI.
Tons of RAM.
Well,
Tons
no,
of
it doesn't.
RAM.
It doesn't have an AI.
No,
It has
but-
a very strong spirit.
I don't even know if it has a spirit, but
No,
yes. But yeah, it's highly technologically
Another
advanced
thing
and
that
it
it's
can
said to
crack
do
stuff.
is that it it reads your vital signs like even more so than your regular power armor does. And I
Yeah.
don't know why it specifies that.
I think one reason. Oh, it reads yours, not
Yes,
others.
it reads like it's so like you put it on your wrist, but it like injects into you, like it locks onto you.
I think maybe because that's how they unlock all the doors in their fortress.
So
So
just-
through
it-
like bio.
It verifies.
Isn't that
it.
just the wristlet thing from Predator? Like the beep boop beep boop beep boop. It's just like
Pretty
does
much.
everything. It controls your shoulder mounted cannon. It controls your ship. It controls.
So one more thing I'll mention too about the clavis is it's predominantly known on keepers, and in fantasy flight games it was only on keepers. Unfortunately, we don't have keepers in 40k tabletop. They're not a unit. They're not a hero. They're nothing.
It's more of just like a rank.
It's not even a rank. I don't.
I know, but like
I don't even
in the story, it's a rank.
I don't even know if they mention keepers
In the codex.
in the codex.
It's possible.
And that's why they put it on the watch commander, because it used to only be a keeper object.
Gotcha.
And then they put it on the watch commander because they wanted a model
That
I guess-
had it.
Yeah, but who knows why they didn't include keepers?
Yeah.
Or maybe they did, but it's definitely not anywhere prominent.
Gotcha.
The other word for clavis is also key.
Yes.
The original like old Roman or Latin,
Yes.
I believe. But it also
That's just a translation.
it also means shackle. So you're getting all of this responsibility.
Well, 'cause
that
the
you're being
keepers-
trapped to, and that you
They
now
serve
have
for
to
life.
The
use-
keepers
They
serve for life. Like,
yeah.
yeah, shackle, absolutely. You have access
The
to
only
all
good
these-
keeper is a dead keeper?
No, one that never stops serving.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I'm getting my mantras mixed up here.
The next very important artifact is the Skull of Brantor.
This does not seem as important. What is
It
the Skull
is-
of Brantor?
Well, Brantor was a very great man. I think he was on our last episode even. No.
Well, so no, Mark's brother. We
Okay.
we joke about how he has a broken body
Yeah.
because he's broken it so many times.
And in so many places.
Yeah.
So we just need the Deathwatch finally turned up. They found his crippled corpse.
Yeah.
They turned him into a servo skull, and it's very useful. It
Yeah.
can fly.
Honestly, like
I'm on board.
it was like it was a really good space
Yeah.
marine or
Somehow this
something.
little servo skull got famous enough to have an artifact to become an.
Well, he may have
artifact.
been famous before he became a
No,
Silver
no,
Skull.
no.
Yeah, he was so good that they turned him into a servo skull. But like out of everything, I think it's the only like servo skull that I've ever seen like a name put and a legacy.
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
a legacy.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
So that's fun. The other really big thing that most people know that the Deathwatch have is the Corvus Black Star. Yes. So sweet. It's literally known to be the only 40k flyer that can actually fly.
You got to play the music from Aliens for this, for the drop shit, because this thing looks wild.
It's really
Yeah,
cool.
It's sweet. It's probably, yeah, it's really cool. It's very sleek looking. It almost looks like what are the stealth bombers called? U2?
B-52s?
B-52 stealth bombers. Like, it's black. It has like a lot of these sharp angles on it, and it has like, it's not just a regular plane shape, although it looks like it can fly. It has like this unique
It's pretty
tail
front
body.
heavy though.
Yeah, and like, yeah, it's not like a fuselage with like wings in the center. Like
No.
it almost all is wing.
Yeah. It makes me think of like a torpedo almost, but like think like a stick grenade.
Yeah.
How it's like heavy on one front end and then thinner all the way down.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I see them.
But yeah, so
But I don't think that does it justice. You should go take a
go look at a torpedo and
Hop
a
exactly.
grenade.
Hop on to gamesworkshop.com, buy 15 of them.
because you're gonna want to as soon as you see
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
they're sweet. I got 2 of them.
Oh boy.
They're heavily armed with weapons. They got las cannons, assault cannons, all these fun type weapons. But they can also unload, I think, 12 Marines. They can hold 12 Marines,
Which makes complete sense because kill teams run in units of 5 to 10.
and then a hero sometimes, like a librarian or something. But yeah, like they can hold guys. So here's the fun fact about them.
Yes.
So you can fit a Space Marine on a bike inside one of these things.
Yeah.
Just drive off the back, loading dock.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can fit 11 of them?
No, I think it counts as 5. I think you can have like 2 or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the exact number. However, you cannot fit a Primaris Marine inside. So that's fun.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Until the new Primaris, Black Star is released later this year.
But yeah, like it's their main drop ship. They use it to get somewhere really quick, stealthily, and like I said, it has a huge payload, so it can just annihilate the landing zone, drop them in, pick them up. You know, you've all seen a action movie with.
We've all seen Attack of the Clones.
Tactical drop.
That's
We've
the
all
sound of-
seen Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. So Eric, you like this one a lot.
Oh, it was really cool when I was reading it. So a kill ship is another completely Deathwatch kind of thing.
Does it kill fly?
You are going to like this one, Colin. I don't know if you read it. So this is a relic weapon. This kill ship.
I'm on board.
It is a completely autonomous drone ship run by the most sophisticated of war spirits. And so we're talking like an AI. That's it.
or it has some pre-programmed functions that are not fully, because there's a difference between conscience and sentience.
The
But
most
keep going.
sophisticated of war spirit.
It is very sophisticated, but it is a war spirit. Beloved war spirit.
Anyways, so what the purpose of the kill ship is to conduct an exterminatus through a lethal payload. And I'm sure we've all seen a sci-fi movie where they're like, do the slingshot maneuver. You know, you enter like the gravity, you accelerate towards the planet, you spin around it, and you use like the momentum you gain to exit.
But then you overshot. You gotta do course
obviously.
correction. You
But-
gotta enter the parachute
So
button.
what this entire kill ship does is it's loaded with this massive lethal payload. It does the slingshot maneuver, goes in, drops its payload, and then all it leaves behind is the burning crisp of its enemies.
Yeah. And just in case it wasn't already going 20 billion miles per second, it is also equipped with long lost cloaking technology, which is pretty rare in the Imperium.
A cloaking technology absolutely is very, very rare.
So yeah, like this thing will sling into the galaxy or into the sector, blow up a planet, and be gone. You won't even see it. You won't see it on radar. You won't see it on you just see your planet explode. You're like, oh. But
so it's very interesting that it's a completely autonomous thing. And it doesn't even sound like it doesn't have to be. It's not like it's doing a kamikaze.
No, yeah, like it,
right?
Yeah.
It seems odd to me that they would say it's completely autonomous, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like how crazy it is. Like, there's nothing else. Like, Grey Knights don't use something like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Rise and bear witness to this incredible machine.
All right. The last interesting thing about the Deathwatch Armory is my conspiracy that I have for the Mark 9 power
I
armor.
have been convinced.
Oh, I have not heard this.
It's good. Okay, so
Here's what you need to do before Mark does
regular Astartes.
this. Pull up 2 pictures side by side.
Yes, okay. 3 pictures.
3 pictures. One is going to be the new Primaris Deathwatch.
Just even
armor?
Primaris Marines.
Okay.
But specifically Deathwatch.
Doesn't have to be.
Fine.
But it should be.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be. Any Primaris armor will do.
Okay.
Pull up Mark 8 Errant armor.
Looking.
It's the regular armor
Okay, Colin's
that...
pulling it up.
Yeah, he's pulling it up. But it's the armor that everyone's used to seeing on old Space Marines.
On heroes, usually. It has the collar piece. Like the regular armor is Mark 7 Aquila.
Okay,
okay.
sure. It's got the collar.
Mark 8 is usually reserved for like heroes and stuff who have proven themselves. They get a little better armor.
So I'm looking at the Mark 8 Errant. It has a very high collar.
Yeah.
Which is its most definable feature.
Yeah.
Whereas the Primaris Captain specifically has that same sort of...
don't look at the captains because that's Gravis armor.
Okay.
But
Okay, but just
Yeah.
the stereotypical one that
Yeah.
you'll see on a cardboard cutout standing in front of a games workshop still has a bit of a higher collar on it.
So here's my conspiracy. For some reason, Games Workshop went from Mark 8 power armor to Mark 9 or Mark 10 power
Which is
armor,
Primaris.
Which
No,
is Primaris armor.
8 does precede 9.
No, 8 to 10.
It went 8 to 10. 8 is Errant, 10 is Primaris.
and it doesn't even they don't have a 9.
Yeah,
for
9
some
doesn't
reason.
exist.
There is no Mark 9.
There is
So
no 9.
Now pull up a picture of a regular Deathwatch squad.
Like regular Space Marine Deathwatch
Yeah, just
squad?
regular
Okay.
your typical kill team. So I believe that
They
this
also have a very high collar.
I believe that this armor is actually Mark 9 power armor.
They have more venting. Okay.
The big things are, if you look at the Errant and then you look at the Primaris, there's a couple key differences between them. One of the things is the ankle joints. If you look at them, they're like a bald ankle joint.
In the Primaris one.
In
But
the
they are
Primaris
not
one.
there in the
Yeah.
Errant.
But then if you look at the Deathwatch guys, they have that ankle joint. They also have the pads on the side of the hips, which the Primaris have, and the Errant doesn't. The other thing is just the collar piece. So
The other thing that I notice is that the Errant armor is actually quite wide in how it looks. Like
Yes.
the chest
The chest
piece-
feels fuller. Like
it feels detached from the midsection. But when you look at the Primaris and the Deathwatch, it actually looks much more of a solid piece.
do you think that this was an attempt by
honestly, I
for
have no
true
idea.
scale in regards to the models themselves?
for the Deathwatch guys? Or for
Well, we
Triskel
know
and
that the recent what was it? It was the Eldrad box set where he's fighting off against the Deathwatch. We know
Yeah.
that there's been the scale creep in terms of
Yeah,
model
yeah.
size. So that this does actually, that upper body torso extension does kind of fulfill that purpose of getting a little bit closer to Primaris.
A little bit, but
Okay.
it's definitely like if you put them beside a Space Marine and beside a Primaris Marine, they're going to be way closer to the Space Marine, like infinitely closer. But yeah, so the other big thing is they have the Deathwatch squads have computer pad on their wrist. Same with Primaris Marines. So I think this is the fabled lost Mark 9 armor. I don't know. Doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
yeah,
It's just why
it's
would Games
cool.
Workshop go from 8 to 10?
Right. It makes
I know
no
why.
sense. I know all things.
Yeah.
But no, it's an interesting thing. Go take a look. It actually is quite similar when you really start poking at it, but it's clearly not like Primaris armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we have 20 minutes to get through some things. Do we want to do some notable deeds or answer questions?
Great deeds we can do really quickly.
Okay,
We
do
can
them real
this.
quick.
All right. So a lot of this is going to come through our minor Xenos. So that we had one where we talked about the Thunderlord, which was it was a massive spectral energy being. It used to be a race, but then there was just one, and it fed off of the sacrifice of thousands of individuals. And a kill team was sent to destroy it, but only one returned with its shattered crystal heart.
And to this day,
It still rings.
I don't
know.
It's shattered probably still, but it was this massive being that subsisted off the sacrifice of thousands of others, and just 5 Marines went and killed it, and 1 came back. So
Yeah.
it's a cool fight to think about.
Yeah.
The other one we have is a Mulari. These are the guys who were exterminated by the Deathwatch, an ancient spacefaring race with knowledge spanning the entire galaxy, and the Deathwatch killed the entire race, and then took their library, burned it, ground it all to ashes, and shot it into a star.
as one does.
As one does. Yeah. That's the Deathwatch being like, fuck you, we don't need
Yeah.
your knowledge.
And it just shows their power too. Like they wipe out entire races. There's another story that we couldn't find, but basically they sent 5 Deathwatch to a planet, and it was like these tunnel dweller planet rat people. Who knows what they describe them as? But they end up wiping out the entire planet. Like
5 guys.
5 guys did. They went to the planet, wiped out the entire planet. Job well done.
Yeah, like these guys are the best of the best of the best, and that's what we should be communicating to you.
They
Yeah.
do their job well.
Colin, read one of the stories that you wrote here.
Okay.
Maybe 2 of them. If you can ramble. Ramble! I've seen you ramble. Go for it.
Okay, so number 33, game prompt. So when we're talking about like what is the power fantasy of playing the Death Watch? Why would you want to add this as a detachment? Why would you want to
dick.
play this? Biggest, definitely bigger than Mark's. What you
That
do
doesn't
is-
take much.
No, it does not. What we have is that maybe you have a Inquisitor unknown to his own forces. Maybe they have been, maybe he has been corrupted by a gene stealer. And that is why you have a Inquisitor fighting against other forces of the Imperium. We see a lot of Imperium on Imperium battles because, well, that's the models that are very, frequented, bought by the community.
Yeah.
So maybe you have a Inquisitor or a Deathwatch team who suspect that there has been some sort of alien taint in an army, so that's why
Yeah.
they're going after it.
Yeah.
You could also have, like we talked about the tropes before, Deathwatch versus a big monster. Maybe they're going up against demons, and
Or that Thunderlord or whatever.
Thunder, Lord.
or you've got, hey, look, Tyranids. They are just. It's Starship Troopers. Come on,
Yeah.
like there's fewer things more joyous than shooting skeet of tons of aliens.
Shooting skeet.
Yeah, interesting choice of words.
Or you are fighting over alien tech in alien ruins on an alien world. The most basic tabletop setting, if you want to pick up some alien trees or the Eldar Webway Gate, it's an old, forgotten alien planet.
Like personally, I think it would be so awesome to be like an Imperium player. Not like a Guard player or a Space Marine player or a Grey Knight player, Deathwatch,
Yeah,
anything, but like
If you were playing like an epic and you could actually include factions from everything.
Yeah, you're like, okay, so I have a 2,000 point army, so 1,000 points of that, or 1,500 points is going to be guard.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to split that between tanks, or depending on the regiment you're doing. But then, like, I'm also going to take, like, a tiny little patrol of Deathwatch, because we're fighting Xenos.
Yeah.
Right? And then the next game you're fighting, like, Chaos, so you're like, okay, there's going to be some Grey Knights, and at the end of it, the Grey Knights are going to murder all the guard.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Right? Like, I think it would be so cool to play that.
Everyone has walked away from your table. You're literally rolling dice against yourself, having your Grey Knights
absolutely.
eliminate your own guard. Deathwatch or Games Workshop's like, we closed an hour ago. Can you please leave? No.
This must be done.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. Yeah,
It's so much
you'd have
more
to play
flavor.
you'd have to play really big games, unfortunately, but it is cool.
Yes, because the scale of which you would take a Space Marine like to a guard is
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you need an entire army of guard before you'd start playing in the Deathwatch.
But you could still theme it pretty
of
good.
course,
But yeah, it
and
would
I
be
really
cool.
like that theme that the Imperium gives. Like it's
Yeah.
it's one of the only ones. Maybe Eldar allows you to do this with their like different aspects, but
Well,
not even
you can
as
have
well.
Dark Eldar and Eldar together.
You
now.
could.
No, but I think you're
And
talking about
Eldar.
like Howling Banshees plus Fire fire dragons.
Yes,
like
like
that sort of
depending on the
specialization.
scenario you're
Yeah.
trying
Oh,
to
I see
do.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it allows
be
for
cool.
it, but the Imperium is just built for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very cool.
Let's in the last little bit here, let's go to some listener questions that we got from Facebook. Logan asks, if a Marine dies in the Watch, who does his gene seed go to? His original chapter or the Watch?
Sorry, read that again.
Where does a gene seed go to when they die?
Oh, it goes to the original chapter.
The reason the Watch doesn't want it is because they have no recruitment process using
yeah.
gene seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, one thing we never mentioned that they have is they have apothecaries.
Oh, of course, you have to have apothecary.
Yeah,
You gotta dig that gene seed out somehow.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
like having said that, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and also
Of
the
course, that's an
apothecaries-
oversight.
Yeah, also apothecaries have like the task of like dissecting new Xenos and all that kind of stuff. Is kind of more
For the
their-
Emperor.
for fun. But yeah,
For fun and profit.
After they're done the 9 stages of interrogation.
That's right.
yeah. So yeah, definitely it goes back to the to the original founding chapter.
Absolutely. Elliot asks, how often would a whole army be needed versus just a squad? The Deathwatch army doesn't assemble.
Yeah, so like we kind of talked about it, like usually you have 5 to 10.
They are
Deathwatch.
treated tactically, size-wise, but if you wanted to say, hey, here is my 2,000 points of Deathwatch.
So here's the thing where
Sure.
it comes down to. There's nothing saying the Deathwatch is not allowed
Exactly.
to go together as
Yeah.
one, but I don't think they would ever see the maybe another War of the Beast comes and
Yeah.
they've like, okay, everyone now Deathwatch.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, on this it brings a good question up too that I just thought of is how many Deathwatch do we think there actually is in the galaxy?
Absolutely unknown.
It
There's
is
no number.
absolutely unknown.
There's no number on watch stations. There's no
Yeah.
number on watch fortresses. There's no
Yeah.
number on kill teams.
Yeah,
so.
but like you can kind of almost guess it has to be a full chapter's worth
I-
minimum.
I would say
minimum.
more than a full chapter's worth because
Yeah.
they are spanning an entire galaxy.
They are, and like if even one Marine from every chapter goes and joins the Deathwatch, you have a full chapter.
Yeah.
And guarantee you, like there could be even 100 Ultramarines in the Deathwatch throughout the entire galaxy, because the Ultramarines will then just recruit 100 more guys. Like,
Yes, exactly.
but so minimum 1,000. But like honestly, if there is even 10,000 of
that
these
wouldn't
guys,
surprise me.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He also asks, would a Space Marine in the Watch be considered a heretic or radical if he used some type of xenotech?
Nope.
Say a pulse rifle if his bolter jammed, or an agonizer if his chainsword broke.
I don't think so.
No. It's fairly common that, they're willing to do whatever it takes. Like,
Yeah.
on the tabletop, it's not as represented, but in the story, totally, whatever needs to get the job done.
And I think the key word is if his weapon's jammed. Like, he's not. Ooh, that pulse rifle's way better than mine.
Yeah, of course, because that would be a heresy.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeffrey asks, how does a Space Marine get chosen for the Deathwatch, and can they refuse to join?
Kind of mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that, if the Deathwatch... Does the Deathwatch requisition individual Marines?
They can. Yeah.
Like, people-y individually?
Yeah,
like,
they
they can
could.
specifically ask for Mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if he wants to tick off the other, you're not giving me enough Marines for the Deathwatch, I am taking him, and him. Your 3 best.
Okay.
Because
I
we
can see
actually
that.
we didn't really talk about where that selection's coming from. Are chapters sending their best to the Deathwatch? Many are because the honor, but some would also be like, look, Jerry, you didn't really pull your weight during that last confrontation with the Necrons.
That's the punishment that comes from
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So...
But yeah,
Okay.
and like the Deathwatch, if they're like, well, I'm going to recruit your chapter master, I think there is a limit.
Yes,
But-
but I think at that point it's more of like I don't think it's not that they're allowed. I
Oh
just
yeah,
think
it's just
it's one of those unspoken rules. We do
it's
not
just-
get into that.
Why
Conflict.
would you do that?
Why would you cripple a chapter?
Yeah,
like that?
exactly.
So it looks like the Deathwatch can just like scout you out.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
request you to join. And of course, like you could refuse, but I think your chapter could force you.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they have the chain of command. Your sergeant tells you to jump. You say
Exactly.
Yes,
The
sir.
chain of command is what they beat you with. That's my favorite.
I think even Scout Sergeant Telion of the Ultramarines was like chosen like specifically.
That's pretty cool. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Jacob asks, would really like to hear about the Black Shields and what their deal is. Also, could an Ordo Malleus requisition the Watch and vice versa? So, first of all, I'm pretty sure we discussed Black Shields.
Disgust or yelled. What?
Either or. Can an Ordo Malleus requisition the Watch? Probably. They are considered the highest, but
It's
why
one
would
of
they
those-
need the Deathwatch
yeah,
when they have
exactly.
the Grey Knights?
It's one of those things like
It's not their.
they can do anything they
Yeah.
want technically, but would the Deathwatch actually? To me, I think it's more would the Deathwatch go?
If it was
like-
an alien threat, absolutely.
Sure,
Yeah.
but like even
But why wouldn't they just leave that to the Ordo Xenos then? Because
Yeah.
they have way bigger things to worry about.
you can have demons that infest things that are not humanity.
That's true. That's true.
But so you might have like a very demon-filled Xenos race, and you
and
might
they
take,
might work together.
Yeah, but ultimately, like the Deathwatch, if they want to say no, they can. They are. I know they're the militant branch, but they are a separate entity with their own chain of authority. They can say no, just like regular chapters can. They just don't because you don't mess with the Inquisition, but
Right.
you can. And then that's when I think the Ordo Astartes would come in and be like, well, why?
Yes, yeah, because there is that entire branch of the Inquisition
Yeah.
made for relations between Space Marines and the
exactly.
Inquisition.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But who knows?
Um,
That's a lot of speculation, and it changes from Inquisitor to Inquisitor and chapter to chapter.
He said, "What's some notable Deathwatch heroes and achievements?" There's so many. Honestly,
yeah.
like I don't really have the time to get.
Well, let
into
me tell
those
you
right now.
about my Deathwatch character I made.
Oh boy,
I was a librarian.
what was your character's name? Marcus Sikor.
Who knows? I've had many Marcus Sikors in my lifetime.
Okay.
I got into a duel with Eric,
As we are wont to do,
as we all want to do in the game. He besmirched my honor. So honor,
and your armor.
and my armor. So on the ship, I overcharged my psychic power so I could win this duel and finally shut Eric up, both in real life and in the game. But I ended up perils of the warp. I blew a hole in the ship, and we got reprimanded. We did
Sucked
get
out.
sucked out, but I did wreck part of the ship.
Yes.
Later in the campaign, same thing. I'm trying to show up Eric, and I perils of the warp, and I summon a demon prince, and good times were had.
That's our most notable Deathwatch character that we have.
Yeah.
Final question. What shoulder is the silver pauldron worn on while serving and after your service time?
So it's worn on the left while serving, and after, I believe it's. I know they can still wear their armor. I'm just trying to think. I think it's on the left still, and the chapter's on the right.
Yeah. So they would
Yeah.
go back to wearing like the regular Deathwatch one.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Well, like when they're done serving, like because normally your squad would be on the left, right? And
Yeah.
or sorry, your chapter on the left, squad
Yeah.
on the right. So if they want to wear this while they're back at the Ultramarine
Yeah.
chapter, they just swap it again.
Yeah, and I don't know if they absolutely do swap it. I think you're right. They do swap it back, so
Yeah.
it's on
Because
the right.
I
as
think the
opposed to-
whole purpose is like for the machine spirit.
Yeah, sure.
That's their reason.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's a good reason.
Derek asks, why do Deathwatch get literally all the best toys? Black Stars, special issue ammo, Xenophase blades. It's almost like they're all secretly blood ravens and stealing all that tech. They need it.
Yeah, they need it, and they have the power of the Inquisition backing them.
Yeah.
They can call upon the resources.
And no other Space Marine chapter has that authority.
Yeah.
Matthew asks, are there any chapters that have more members join the Deathwatch than others? Also, do they have any Xenos narcs, so to speak, giving them the down low information?
I like the second question, the second
Yeah.
part of that the most, because it's that idea of the alien kind of selling out their own race. Because
Yeah.
keep in mind, humanity is this large thing. We're terrifying in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Put yourself into the perspective of Xenos. Think if you're a Tau or a no-name minor Xenos. You see humanity coming with these giant gothic ships. You're like, yeah, I will definitely
The
tell you we're all.
apocalypse is now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, don't worry. Watch how people turn on society when a giant gothic spaceship shows up, and they're like, yeah, no, the president's over there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
So absolutely they do.
But I would more see that happening with Inquisitors and not Deathwatch. Deathwatch don't strike me as the people to have conversations with Xenos.
No, and-
No, that's true. The Inquisition will let's be fair. The Inquisition, they are still there to eliminate Xenos, but they will sometimes entertain a dialogue, which usually involves a one-way dialogue of I'm yelling at you and you are being tortured.
right.
The Deathwatch are kind of that human emotion to the extreme. We are here not to negotiate. We are here to put holes in things.
Right. Yeah.
Lots of big
Yes.
bolter-sized shots.
Now, having said that, though, they do have their kill marines that do go on missions, and they might just send the one guy to destabilize a government. Because why engage an entire race when you can send one guy to destabilize the government? Yeah.
I find stuff like that really interesting.
What?
Like, like, why would you fight a political war when your military might is so much greater?
Well, it's the same reason as the Great Crusade, right? Like the Emperor going, I cannot fight this conflict with Mars before going out into the galaxy. It's much shorter for me to actually try to do something else. Like
Yeah,
you still
exactly.
have to have moments where you're like, do I really want to commit all of these resources?
And spend 20 years and thousands of resources and manpower.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I can see the
Like
reason
waste
for it all.
exists in the Imperium. Make no mistake. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we accidentally built 30,000 chairs. Why? I don't know. We had to keep the
Someone
population
requisitioned
busy.
it.
Yeah.
Send it to this moon. That moon doesn't exist anymore. Put him in its orbit.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't
Make
say
another
chairs. I
asteroid.
said flares. We had there is only war.
Can you think of a chapter that has more members join the Deathwatch than others?
Who would want to do their duty to the Imperium?
Like Ultramarines. Like,
I would assume Ultramarines,
But I don't think it's stated.
Yeah, mostly because they just have the biggest pool to draw from.
Yeah.
So they have they at least worry about their numbers.
yeah.
Right. So
And yeah, they're usually bound to the honor and whatever. But
love that
I
kind of
don't.
stuff.
I don't think there's a set.
no.
Yeah.
Clayton asks, "What is Cryptman's current status?"
Ooh. He is kind of like Schrodinger's cat, where he is simultaneously alive and dead in the lore. He has popped up in 3 different spots.
Yeah. I have no idea. After his whole Tyranid thing, I'm pretty sure he's declared.
Well, first is he's on the run from the rest of his Inquisition buddies.
Yeah.
Because there's a bounty on his head. Second one is that he's actually trying to turn over a new leaf.
Liar.
Yeah. He's trying to make amends by trying. Now, that said, in his way, it's like, well, the orcs and the Tyranids are fighting. Maybe if I steer this other force to come in, making the problem worse. If you have a fire, throw gasoline on it to
Yeah,
put it out.
Exactly.
There's also been some people speculating that he's actually on the run from Ahriman of the Thousand Suns.
Really?
That's popped up a few places I saw, which was very interesting because he's not one you'd typically associate.
No, not with chaos. Yeah.
No. And then just, he's could also still be like, nope, I'm going to stay put in the Octarius sector and
I'm gonna see this
see
through.
this through.
The more likely of all of them, he's dead. He should be dead. Like, the Great Rift has opened. 200 years has passed. All these characters that we know should be dead.
Except some of them live for 2,000 years.
I'm not saying they don't have the ability, but in a galaxy of war, 200 years is a long time.
Of the hardest fighting the Imperium has ever seen. Since
Like, you should be
since the Great
dead.
Crusade.
Like, ultimately,
Should be dead, but Games Workshop, they love a name.
yeah.
You start up, say, we're, as Games Workshop, we're going to do a global campaign, call it the Octarius sector.
Oh,
Holy smokes! Orcs versus Tyranids, the possibility of new models. What does the Imperium get? The return of Inquisitor Cryptman. You're like, I get hype, get hype.
Yet somehow the Imperium still gets more releases than the
Yeah,
other
of
two.
course.
Oh, 100%. Well, you have to introduce the new Primaris model of...
Primaris Cryptman. Right? That's how that works.
Yeah.
Paul
Great
asks,
question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What if 2 chapter members have conflicting doctrines? Do they come to blows or talk it out over a pint?
Isn't that character based? Like if you have based on what chapters they are from.
Yeah, so if you had just 2 chapters, or so you have an Ultramarine librarian in a kill team with a Black Templar.
Yeah, they're going to probably wind up
Yeah.
spouting virtue and
Right.
Yeah.
So the reality is, Paul, it's going to come down to the individual,
Yeah.
obviously, because some people are just going to have more self-control than others. Do I see physical fights breaking out? Not really. Space Marines are more disciplined than that.
That's the thing. Like, they're the best of the best. They're not these,
hotheads.
hot-headed new recruits that are, they're there as an honorary position. They're trying to accomplish their goal.
Or a punishment.
some may actually declare a duel, though. I could actually
course,
foresee
that's
that.
what I'm saying.
An honorable duel.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. I don't believe it would ever devolve to a brawl. I'm thinking you would always take it out as a duel.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're talking it out over pints. Because there are some things...
They might, but who knows?
There's no way a Black Templar is ever letting go of that.
That one's an extreme one.
It is an extreme. I'm
But-
picking that as my extreme.
Yeah.
So you know what? You're right. Maybe in some scenario,
Who knows?
they are willing to come to an understanding. Yeah.
You ultimately said it best. It all comes up to the character that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like the actual personal character.
Yeah. Isaac asks, if Kryptonians were a Xenos race in 40K and invaded Terra, how would Space Marines fare against them? All right, so I actually thought about this question a lot because I thought it was really dumb, and I hate Kryptonians, and Superman's the worst superhero ever to exist. But here we go. Scenario number one. Humanity has access to kryptonite, and they make kryptonite bolters. Humanity wins. Easy.
And that's what would happen,
If we had access to kryptonite.
which we would.
We probably would. If for some reason we did not have access to kryptonite, humanity loses.
Well, not to mention, Kryptonians are only powerful under certain suns.
Yeah, they just blow up the sun.
One would assume
opposed to
that,
that idea.
in this galaxy they would find a sun that gives them power.
Yeah, but they would only be a threat around that, close to that sun.
So let's
in
say
that solar
they show up to Terra.
Yeah.
And we have Kryptonian, we win. Or
Yeah,
kryptonite.
yeah.
If we do not have kryptonite, they win.
Yeah.
Because the dumb thing about Superman is he's fucking invincible, and it's the worst. It's
No,
the
you just
worst.
take a cyclonic torpedo into the sun, blow up the sun, they lose their power, and
Terra is now screwed.
I don't think it.
Well, yeah, that,
You
we're
have
talking about
all of 8 minutes before the entire planet
No,
starts to freeze over.
You get Forge World Lucius to come over, open itself up. It's got an artificial sun.
But no, honestly, I hate Kryptonians.
Yeah,
I
they're
hate
bad.
Superman.
Yeah.
I totally disagree.
I know. You and Christian both. I was sitting in the car with Christian.
of
He's like, that's
No,
what
no,
makes
no,
him
it's-
special is he's not a god. And I'm like, but
No,
he
that's
totally
not,
is.
That's not it. It's more like Superman is a thought experiment about what would someone do if they were completely
And he
invincible.
talked about like his 3 favorite ones. One was like where he started curing like world hunger and cancer,
Oh, yeah.
and he realized he couldn't like fix everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one was how he just wanted to be a regular person and he
Right.
didn't want to be a god. It was just he starts going to the individuality of Superman, and I'm like, man, if an army of Kryptonians showed up, we don't care about the individual.
Yeah, also, the other question is, are Kryptonians? They're probably not impervious to the warp, so
Superman is notoriously immune to magic, which, Mark, I hear that the warp is all magic.
He is quite defensive. Anyways, I think it depends. If we have kryptonite, we win. If we don't, you win. It's as simple as that.
Interesting.
Just because you can't beat a Kryptonian without kryptonite.
Sure.
Anyways, Cetus asks, how long would a kill team of Deathwatch survive being thrown?
7.
33.
How long would a kill team of Deathwatch survive being thrown onto a demon world? 42.
Yeah. There you go.
7 and 33. Jordan, what's your answer?
34.
He's playing the.
He's talking years though, where Colin's talking months. So quite a
I was talking
difference.
hours.
I'm just talking units. 42 units.
Isn't that stone? Is that I see that system of measurement.
Yeah.
Cubits.
Cubits?
Credits.
They would survive 14 cubits.
They would survive 14 cubits.
Like they would survive regular than regular Space Marines. Not as long as Death or Grey
Grey
Knights.
Knights, yes,
Like,
of course.
Because they're
not-
actually stronger together with their diversity
Oh,
of
God,
skills.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I made this joke. I loved it. Only when we acknowledge our differences and come together. And
You're not
make
saying
sure,
any of the buzzwords.
It's the
You're
Power
not,
Rangers of the 40K.
Remember when they
I
released
like that
the
more than I
Black
like
Ranger?
diversity.
And then the White Ranger was the most powerful one.
It's problematic. So if you are going to be, if you enjoyed this episode
Yes.
and you want more about the Death Watch, do yourself a credit and pick up Steve Parker's Death Watch Omnibus.
Okay, it has like the 3 in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some incredible stuff in there. I would just flip through it at the bookstore, and I'm like, this is super badass.
Flip through it and you read it all and then you
Yeah.
put it down. Like what's your?
I actually speed
Like,
read my fingers over the book,
Yeah.
and at some point my fingers split open and mechadendrites come out. And great, thank you,
Yeah.
we
guys.
did it. I
Thanks
guess.
for joining us again.
I'll be
Colin.
back in 5 episodes. This is now
Yes.
a multiple 5 over 5. 5 is an important number.
So
because
start thinking about episode 38 and all the potential.
Topic will be 40K.
Yes, not history, Colin. For once. No, it was great to have you. Obviously, guys, check us out on Facebook. You know, shoot us an email, lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, lorehammer40k. We've got a merchandise line on Redbubble. You can see that on Facebook. We've got a Patreon available. You can also see that on Facebook. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, cares, we don't care. Don't bother messaging us with those. Just message us with pictures of Warhammer or cats. That's what we want to see.
you're not able
or
to
send nudes to Mark.
Sure.
You're not able to
Specifically
send in
footnotes.
your lore? Were you guys?
Oh my gosh!
I got a good lore
absolutely.
this morning, actually. I haven't
Yes.
read it all, but Graham sent me.
Is it the long one in the Word document that he had as an
yeah,
attachment?
I only read like
It's
half.
good.
Yeah,
I started
liked
reading it,
He
yeah.
was. It was very.
It's very well thought out.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got what is it coming up? NaNoWriMo, November, the month where you write a novel.
Okay.
Should actually really tie that into people having their lore throughout.
First
the
of
month.
all, I don't have time to read your novel, Colin.
No, I'm
okay?
just saying,
I
it's
barely
a-
had time to listen to your voice
An
clip.
erotic story of the Mechanicum.
It's a tentacle monster. It's all it turns into.
one.
Moving right along.
Oh,
All right, but that's our episode
Oh,
on the
one.
Ordo Xenos and the Deathwatch guys.
Next episode, Ordo Hereticus and the Sisters of Battle.
The Sisters of Battle. Prepare yourselves for some piousness, some righteousness. Anyways,
and also you could probably just skip that episode because Christian's going to be on with us for that one.
oh yeah,
so.
don't bother listening. You
Yeah.
don't like that guy anyway.
bring me back.
No,
No,
5
should be good.
episodes.
Should be good. Looking forward to it.
Anyways, see you later, guys.
Peace now.